Welcome, bet riders around the world. My name is Gary Solomon, and you're watching the Laid Back Bike Report. Wow, that's an opening that we're proud of. That was Doug Davis in there getting chased down. So we'll talk more about that later on. Folks, welcome to the Laid Back Bike Report. We have an amazing show all about Velomobiles for you today. Let me tell you what's in the webcast. First of all, as always, we're kicking it off with Honza Galla with Recumbent News. Then we have a special video created just for this show by our pal Saukki from the Velomobile Channel on YouTube. I think you're going to really enjoy that. Now, we are going next into a number of interviews, mostly from European Velomobile people of interest. We're going to kick it off with Aleksey Ganshin and Jason Dubin. We're going to talk about their new Velomobile creation for NAVRA, and we've talked with Jason about that before. We then have Mike Lecka with the Velodreamer. He's going to give us an update on what's going on with that Velomobile. Then Josef Janning has been working very hard with me this past month, and he's going to have a number of interviews. First one with Velomobile.nl with Allert and Eva Jacobs, and we're going to talk mostly about the Snoek L. Also an interview with Ymte Sijbrandij about the DF XL. There's a new version coming for that. And an amazing interview that Josef did with Daniel Fenn. Almost never see him online, and he and Josef talk about the Alpha 9. So I think you're going to enjoy that. I have a couple interviews lined up with one with Ben Goodall from down under in Australia. He's going to update us on the Goodall-Trisled Rotovelo 2, and they also have a new suspension trike they're working on. So we'll talk about that. And my buddy Stephane Boving from Katanga in the Czech Republic, he's going to share the latest on the WAW Velomobile, and he's got a couple of interesting new announcements there as well. And we're going to finish it up with a segment with Doug and with an important piece of information for all of you about how to choose a Velomobile. So we hope you will stay around for that one. All right, let's meet the crew, all the folks that have helped me out and will help me out today. First of all, in Jackson, Mississippi, it is our media dude himself, Trey Burgoyne. Hey, Trey.
Howdy, folks. Good to be here.
And Colorado Springs is where you're going to find Larry Seidman, who's doing the directing today. His hands are full. What's up, Larry?
Hands are empty right now.
Okay, well, let's see how that goes. And let's go to the next Larry in Kentucky. It is Larry Varney from Bet Rider Online. Hi, Larry.
Hi, everybody.
And the news director of the Laid Back Bike Report, it's Honza Galla in the Czech Republic. Hi, Honza.
Hi, great to be here.
And good to have you always. And Doug Davis, of course, right there in front of Bicycle Evolution. He's going to be a big part of the show. Hi, Doug. And
hey, Gary. Good to be here.
Great to have you. And we've talked about Josef Janning, who is also from Germany, and he's with us to help us out today. Josef, thanks for everything you've done this week. Great to have you with us.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure.
Very good. All right, guys. If you would like to participate in this show, we have a live chat that accompanies the YouTube and Facebook videos. So please jump in there and make sure you let us know where you are watching from. We always like to see that. If you have questions or comments, leave them in that live chat. We'll take a look at them. Now, you can support the Late Bad Bike Report by liking us on Facebook, subscribing to us on YouTube, and clicking that little white eye right up there to go to the laidbackbikereport.com website, where you'll find lots more information, including how to become a Patreon supporter, which you can do for as little as $1 a month. So we would always love to see more Patreon supporters. Now, this show is sponsored by a number of great sponsors, including TerraCycle. Where is TerraCycle? TerraCycle? There we go. TerraCycle, makers of exquisite recumbent parts and accessories for your bent. And Trailside Trikes, a fine recumbent trike shop on the Withlacoochee Trail in Florida and now in Knoxville, Tennessee as well. And TerraTrike Green Speed, the best in leisure, performance, adventure, touring, electric, and portability. Wherever your adventure leads, TerraTrike will take you there. And Green Speed, where Ian Sims designs bring performance through science and engineering. And Laid Back Cycles, the top USA dealer for TerraTrike and the premier source for Catrike Ice and Green Speed. We give you the freedom to ride. And Connecticut Yankee Peddler. We feature multiple brands of trikes, including electric assist models. Test rides and Southern Iowa hospitality are always available at our mega store in Sheraton. And Avenue Trikes, with the gearing you need and the comfort you want, in stock and ready to ship, so you can enjoy riding again. Dealer inquiries are welcome. And Azub. This company is a 3-time winner of the Trike of the Year award and has brought several unique technologies solutions to the world of recumbent bikes, including the titanium front suspension on the Tie-Fly trike. Combined with the tuned rear suspension, it provides its owner with absolute comfort throughout the ride. And Recumbent PDX. With 150 trike inventory, Recumbent PDX is the West Coast's only cat trike megastore. We have over 20 trikes on our showroom floor, just waiting for you to test ride through our beautiful Portland neighborhood. Call or email to schedule your test ride today. All right, on with the show, guys. Let's kick it off with Honza's news report. Larry, let's have a look.
Hello everybody, Honza Galla from Recumbent.news here once again. This time I have 3 news items for you. The first is about Velomobile.nl, the Dutch manufacturer of one of the best velomobiles in the world. Has experienced registered trademark issue. So they have to, thanks to the name Quattro, they had to rename their Quattro Velo, one of probably the most popular and very technically advanced model of them. So it's no longer a Quattro Velo, but it's Quatre Velo, so it's pure French. Sorry for my pronunciation. It's pure French name right now. And yeah, this is it. The second news item is about cruise bike. They launched their new evolution of the fastest model of them, the V20C, also known as Vendetta. So they launched it last week, or basically this week, and the insiders that registered into their newsletter had a chance to pre-order the bike with the delivery in May, and the first batch of Vendettas, of the new Vendettas, were sold out within just one day. no surprise, basically, the bike is completely redesigned with the new carbon fiber front triangle. It is stiffer. This part is also 17% lighter than the aluminum one they used before. The bike also has a tapered head tube and couple of other details. So no surprise, they were able to sold it out the first batch within just 1 day. And the last news is a recall, something that many car manufacturers or bike manufacturers experience time to time. Also, recumbent manufacturers experience it time to time. This time, it is a Greenspeed, or let's say Wheels, the owner of Greenspeed. They are recalling the Magnum and Magnum XL trikes that were purchased after September 2021. I think it's September 16. So if you are owner of a brand new Magnum, you should visit the webpage, compare your serial number of the frame with the serial numbers mentioned there, and if you are if your bike belongs to the recall, you should reach your dealer or Wheels directly, and they will make the repair. And yeah, that's it. That's everything from me for today, and enjoy the show. Bye. Bye-bye.
All right, Hans, great. I guess I just want to let everyone know that we will put the link to the Greenspeed page with the recall information on it. Important information for those of you who may have a Magnum. So that was great. And I just wanted to say to you also about the Quattrovelo. I had no idea about that till I saw your report last night. So that's kind of a crazy business, but I don't know. Your French is okay. It was très bien.
Fine. I don't understand a single word French, so
yeah.
Except for the Quattrovelo.
Now you know, at least you know that word, so that's always good. All right. Anything else? Any last updates, Honza? We're going to move on. If not, okay. Thanks, today. Pal. We appreciate it. And if you have anything to comment on later on, let us know, and we will see you later. Thanks, Honza. All right, guys. Let's kick it off. Now, you might have noticed that we had greetings right there, the Velomobile Channel. Well, that's Saukki, our good buddy in Finland, and his YouTube channel is fantastic. I'll have a link to that in the description below. He sent us and created this video just for this show. I think you're really going to enjoy this. Larry, let's have a look.
Hello everyone, and thanks Gary for having me on the show. You have been asking me to participate to the show for many years, and now it's finally happening. So it's great to be here. So I'm not sure if I'm able to be in the live chat today, because we recently got a new baby to the family, so I'm very busy right now. But at least I'm hoping to be in the live chat for a little while, so that I can participate to the conversation and maybe answer to your questions. But sitting here in the garage is quite boring, so let's go out. Okay, so today I want to talk about what it's like to be a Velonaut. So I have prepared for you a list of top 5 best things about being a Velonaut. And actually there's quite a lot of good things about being a Velonaut. So much in fact that I had difficulties to decide which one I should include to this top 5 list. Because there are things like efficiency, meaning that I'm always faster than roadies. Also one other thing which didn't make to the list. We Velonauts, we don't have to buy expensive fuel for our Velomobiles. And that's especially important now when the oil prices are pretty high. And that one of course should have been on the list. But there are also so many other things. Well, maybe we can talk about those things in the live chat and in the video comments later. But anyway, now let's get into my list. Okay, so on the 5th place Well, this thing actually, this applies to all cycling, so not just Velomobiles, but especially with Velomobiles this is very important, because when you have a Velomobile you tend to ride more, because it's so much fun to ride a Velomobile. So on the 5th place on my list, Velonauts. They are always in good shape because they are cycling a lot, because by riding a Velomobile you end up doing some free exercise. So this is a very healthy way of transportation, not like sitting in a car and doing nothing. With Velomobile you get very good exercise, and because this is so fun, you do this more often. So yeah, this is very good for you. Okay, the next thing on the list, you can basically wear anything you like. So for example, road cyclists, they always have some kind of weird codes about what to wear and so on. And then they need to have very aerodynamic clothes, because those road bike stores are so inefficient. And also it's a good idea to wear something bright colors so you are more visible. But by riding a Velomobile you don't have to worry about any of those things, because you are here inside the Velomobile, so you can wear whatever you like, or even be completely naked and no one will see. So no need to try to wear aerodynamic clothes. You can just wear whatever you feel is the most comfortable. Let's continue this comparison between Velomobiles and upright bikes. Riding a Velomobile is much more safer than riding an upright bike. Let me explain. Okay, first of all, you are much closer to the ground, so if you happen to fall, you don't fall from very high. Also there's this Velomobile body around you, so if you happen to crash, this will protect you. Usually when upright cyclists crash or fall, they do hurt themselves pretty badly, and that's why they are usually wearing helmet, because yeah, that probably will save their lives. But if you happen to crash with a Velomobile, you probably can walk away with only few minor bruises, because there's this protective body around you. Luckily I haven't crashed my Velomobile yet, so I don't know what kind of experience that is. But I've seen some Velomobile crashes on the internet, and while the Velomobiles always look pretty bad after the crash, but the Velonauts themselves, they usually don't hurt themselves so badly. So yeah, Velomobiles are pretty safe. Hey, where's my Velomobile? What kind of Velonaut am I? Leaving my Velomobile behind like that. Also, Velomobiles usually have pretty bright colors and good light, so they are also very visible, as you can see. Very bright colors. I'm sure you can see this kind of thing from very far away, so no need to wear any bright and colorful clothes like upright cyclists have to. Okay, so now we have talked about how the Velomobile body protects you from the crash. So yeah, being a Velonaut is much more safer than being an upright cyclist. But then also this Velomobile body, this protects you from the weather. Oi perkules. Oi perkules. Luckily I'm riding a Velomobile. With open frame bike I would be completely wet. So if it's bad weather, like it's raining or it's cold or something like that, that doesn't matter. So as a Velonaut you are not afraid of bad weather, because you will stay dry here inside the Velomobile if it's raining, and you will stay warm here if it's cold outside. Then also this Velomobile body protects you from direct sunlight, so you don't burn yourself. So basically you are in shade while you are inside the Velomobile, and as long as you keep moving, there will be enough airflow inside the Velomobile so that the temperature doesn't rise much warmer than outside. I don't usually have to worry about it being too hot inside the Velomobile, because look at this. It's still winter here. We have still about half a meter of snow. But yeah, this is early March when I'm shooting this video, so when this is coming out, probably next month, then I think we already have good Velomobile conditions, because this is not very nice. The roads are still in pretty bad condition around here. Okay then, the number one on my list, and I think this is one of the best things about being a Velonaut. You don't constantly have to be washing the drivetrain like you have to do with a regular bike. When you ride in the weather like this, like we have here now, let me show you. Okay, so with open frame bike, after a ride in the conditions like this, you really need to wash the drivetrain after the ride if you want it to work the next day. Trust me, I've ridden my open frame bikes in the conditions like this, and it's not fun. And the washing the bike after the ride, it's not fun either. So yeah, this is definitely the best thing about being a Velonaut, because I don't have to wash the drivetrain after every ride, because the drivetrain is completely enclosed inside the Velomobile body, so it doesn't get dirty. Definitely the best thing about being a Velonaut. But not everything about being a Velonaut are great things. So that's why I have prepared you a list of top 5 worst things about being a Velonaut. And let's start this list with farts. I'm sure you all have done that. Farting inside a Velomobile, it's not very fun. With open frame bikes and especially with upright bikes, if you fart, the smell is going to be the problem for the guy behind you. But if you fart inside the Velomobile, the smell is your problem. The smell has to go somewhere, and usually there's a little bit airflow inside the Velomobile, and the smell, it will escape usually through the manhole, because there's this big opening and your head and your nose is in the middle of that opening, so all the smell, it's coming straight to your nose. So yes, that's definitely one of the worst things about being a Velonaut. Farting inside the Velomobile. Not fun. Then as a Velonaut you of course enjoy cruising with fast speed on a flat road, but climbing, that's not fun. Because then after that fast cruising you suddenly end up riding as slow as other upright cyclists, or maybe even slower, or then you have to output as much or maybe even more power as the upright cyclists to keep up with them. So yeah, that's not very fun. And also if you're climbing in hot climate, then there will be pretty hot inside the Velomobile, because you are not moving very fast, so there will be not enough airflow to keep the air moving inside the Velomobile, so the temperature will rise pretty fast. Then when you stop somewhere, there's usually a lot of people asking questions, so that might get pretty annoying sometimes. Like for example, if you stop for a break to some cafe or something, there will be always a lot of people asking about questions about your Velomobile, and your short 10-minute break may stretch up into 30 minutes or 45 minutes or something like that. So you usually have to reserve some extra time for the other people and to answering their questions. Sometimes that just gets pretty annoying. Then sometimes it's pretty difficult to decide where I should ride with this Velomobile, because basically, well, maybe not in winter, but usually Velomobile is way too fast for cycle paths, because Velomobiles are so efficient that these are much more faster than other type of bicycles. And around here the bike paths, they are usually combined bike paths and sidewalks, so there will be people riding bikes and walking their dogs, so there will be all kinds of people on those paths. Riding with Velomobile around 40 kilometers per hour on that kind of bike path, it's not always very safe, even though I always try to do it safely. But then on the other hand, Velomobiles are usually too slow for regular roads. Well, not always. For example, here in the village the speed limit is 40 kilometers per hour, so I can always keep up with other traffic. Well, not in winter, but in summer I can. But anyway, basically sometimes it feels that Velonauts doesn't belong to anywhere, because we are too slow for roads and too fast for bike paths. So where the hell should we go? So that is sometimes very annoying, trying to decide where to ride. And then we get to the last point on my list of top 5 worst things about being Velonaut, and that is that, well, I didn't come up with anything else, so so yeah, that's the last thing. There's not enough things to make a top 5 list of worst things about being Velonaut. Well, actually there probably is a lot more negative things about being a Velonaut, so feel free to discuss these things in the live chat. And now I would like to hear what other panel members have to say about this. What's your best and worst things about being a Velonaut? But okay, I think that's all I have to say today. It was very nice to be here. Thanks again for having me. And now back to you, Gary.
Wow, that was just fantastic, folks. You need to check out the Velomobile channel with Saukki. He does great videos consistently, just like that. So, if on the outside chance you haven't already checked out his channel, please do. We will have those that link in the description below, and of course, Saukki is on the live chat. So, if you want to chat with him during the rest of the show, please feel free, and I'm sure he'll be happy to talk to you about that. Doug, Joseph, any quick comments on what Saukki had to say there?
Great explanation.
Joseph, we've got a problem with your audio. I'm not sure what's happening there. Yeah, it's kind of a big echo. Check it out. Doug, can you tell us anything about your...
Well, I would say the one thing that Saukki mentioned, which I would absolutely agree on, is you can't be introverted and ride a Velomobile very long, because everybody comes out to see you whenever you've stopped, you know, in a convenience store, at a restaurant, at the stoplight, everywhere. So absolutely, you're going to find that people are going to come out to see it and ask you about it.
Yeah, I'm sure that gets in the way. Joseph, you want to try again, or let's see.
Oh, you hear me now?
No, we're having some trouble. You might want to just go out and come back, and we'll check with you on the next segment if we could. Okay. All right. Okay. So, folks, I think at this point we're going to move along into our next segment. Now, this is a little bit more serious. We have a video that we received and an interview with two gentlemen. First, Aleksey Ganshin is a Ukrainian gentleman who is working on a Velomobile for NAVRA. And NAVRA, you might remember, is Jason Dubin from New York. His project to bring Velomobiles to New York and around the U.S. And he got a hold of Aleksey, and he is a great designer there in the Ukraine, and will be building this new Velomobile, which he is going to tell you about now, and also tell you about the conditions in Ukraine that he's dealing with right now, which I'm sure most of you are aware with. Let's kick it off and hear from Aleksey and Jason. We are back with our good friend Jason Dubin, and Jason has been on the show before, of course, with his many exploits on the streets of New York with his Velomobile and crashing and all that stuff. But today we're gonna talk about something completely different, Jason, and that is your latest project, which has to do with NAVRA, which we talked about earlier as well, and your association with a gentleman in the Ukraine, Aleksey Ganshin.
Hello, we are from Ukraine. I am a Velodreamer. And this is mold for our new Velomobile, Mobi Dick, Mobi Dick XL. It has unusual shape for better aerodynamics. It was made on this workshop. And here you can see rests of master model. It's not need, we don't need it anymore. Моя последняя разработка в сотрудничестве с Джейсоном Дубином из Нью-Йорка, благодаря которому у меня появилась возможность сделать разработку этой модели веломобиля моей основной деятельностью.
Hello. It's great to have you back here. So let's start right there. Can you tell me how did you discover Aleksey?
Well, I've been watching his exploits on Facebook over the years. My grandfather actually is from Kiev. So that was, I think, additional motivation on my part. When I was originally planning NAVRA, I was planning to get my hands on 10 used vehicles, and then I decided I might be better to make my own, and I was going to use the Allowator series. But then I realized this is the 21st century, no one's using aluminum, and here's a guy who is working really hard to make stuff. He's in a country where my money goes 3 times as far. So my original plan was to start with the elevators and then eventually hire him to move on, which was our original conversation. But when I realized that there was no point making an aluminum clad anymore, I decided just to work directly with him. It was a neat situation. From what I understand, people have been trying to hire him to make Velomobiles for years now, but they all wanted him to move either to like Western Europe, or even if he was going to stay in Ukraine, they wanted him to move into a city. But he has this little farm that I think he bought some years ago for like $1,000, he tells me, which he and his family have been like developing. And I appear to be the only person willing to give him money to develop these things and not make him lead. So that's kind of how that worked out.
That's great. All right. Now, he is showing us now how he goes about making this Velomobile that you guys call Mobi Dick.
Yeah, that was his idea.
Okay.
I claim no credit for that.
It's a great idea, I
Yes,
think.
it is.
So,
No.
so he's designing, as we see here. He is making the design stuff, but clearly you had some serious contributions to make in terms of the ideas behind this Velomobile. You moved on from the aluminum, but what contributions did you make to the ideas?
My main concern was my market here in New York City. New Yorkers in general, and I think Americans in particular, are kind of fat and kind of tall. And most of the Velomobiles on the market now really don't fit large people. So at least for this first model, I suggested strongly that he find, for lack of a better word, a big fat bastard who could represent your typical American big fat bastard. And we kind of went from there. He's going to eventually make a model for smaller people, but we decided to go big to start.
Okay, but other than that, you gave him pretty much a free hand.
Oh, God, yes. What do I know? I'm just a human. I mean, here's a guy. He's been doing work for years. He clearly knows what he's doing. As designs came by, I would pass it by like other board members, and they would make suggestions about seats, situations, and other little details. But mostly, we pretty much let him do his thing.
Excellent. All right. So the part that you really do have a lot to do with is the market that you are aiming for. You are having him design this, and then we're going to talk a little bit about production. He talks about it in the video here as well. He's saying that after it's designed and he makes the prototypes, then production will probably happen in the U.S. there.
I'm hoping. Ultimately, it really depends on money and demand. Realistically, I would have to have enough money to rent a space, the equipment, enough money to keep it at least situated for 2 years. I can't do that right now. So, like I said, it really depends on demand. If I can get the demand going, if enough people want them, I can make them here. In the interim, though, we're just going to do piece by piece.
He does talk about that here as well, as far as with the lower costs, he thinks of producing them there early on.
Yeah, like I said before, the money goes much further over there, though now everything is up in the air because of the condition.
Right. And of course, later on in our video here with Aleksey, he's going to talk specifically about the issues there in Ukraine. Tell me about your sales and distribution model. What do you have in mind, actually? Where are you going to sell these? Who is the buyer that you have in mind? And how are you going to distribute them?
Currently, I'm doing mouth-to-mouth advertising. I really need to have the model here. But once I do have the model here, there are a number of bicycle organizations that I'm going to be approaching. I'll be offering them discounts if they promote it through their systems. We'll obviously be doing promotions through Facebook, as that's pretty much the only way to reach the international Velomobile community right now, and of course, your show. I've spoken to a lot of people who cannot make the connection, and this is something they would drive every day to work, but the idea of racing really turns them on. And I'm thinking once they start to race, they can say, hey, well, how am I going to get the bike to the race? Well, I could put it in the car or on top of the car, but I could just ride to the race. And then they'll be riding back to the race. And then they'll say, hey, maybe I can ride to the store to get something instead of pulling out the car. And I think once people that's the core of what I want to do. I want to get people familiar with these things. And the only way to get them familiar is to get them on the ground as cheaply as possible. And that's why I went to Mr. Ganshin.
Почти завершено. Завершается создание молдов, форм основного корпуса. По плану, к концу марта уже должен был быть пробный корпус, возможно, это будет. Но, так как все знают, у нас сейчас война, Украина борется с захватчиками, поэтому неизвестно, как все будет двигаться дальше, но мы надеемся на лучшее. Я пока что уверен, что смогу достроить все в Украине. В начале войны мы прорабатывали варианты эвакуации производства, но очень быстро стало ясно, что это невозможно, хотя и есть приглашение в Польшу. Сейчас мы уверены в победе украинской армии, а с поддержкой Джейсона у нас есть все ресурсы для завершения разработки и начала производства первых моделей. Конечно, могут быть задержки, например, если будет отключение электроэнергии или связи, ну или оккупация.
Go to our website. There is a link where you can just make a $20 donation if you want. If you want to be a member, it's $100. But I am thinking we will have bikes in production by the end of the year, assuming all hell does not break loose. Anyone who has the money, if you want to become a founding member, for $10,000, you will get one of the first ever made. And this supports him and supports us as a group moving forward in this culture.
That is excellent and an excellent cause, I think, both on your behalf and certainly Aleksey's and Ukrainian causes as well there. So, all right, Jason, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much. As always, great having you back on the Way Back Bike Report. So you take care of yourself, will you?
We'll try.
Как затронула нас война? Ну, затронула очень сильно, как и многих. Не знаю, в Украине нас затронула всех. Просто не многих прямыми боевыми действиями. Нас затронуло разлучением семьи. Многие друзья остались там, на оккупированных территориях, в Мариуполе, с которыми сейчас нет связи. С русскими мы вообще не можем общаться больше. Хотя моя жена гражданка России, она одна из немногих исключений, которая действительно не поддерживает все это, но она поэтому пыталась уехать из России. То есть там все-таки есть хорошие люди, но их не так уж много. В данный момент она пытается вернуться домой и еще пока не добралась. Я уверен, что вражеская армия будет разбита до того, как приблизится к моей деревне. Многие мои друзья, с которыми мы катались на велосипедах, которые в том числе участвовали в этих съездах наших, во встречах велоконструкторов, сейчас уже в армии. К сожалению, есть сообщения о некоторых, не из них, а просто из друзей в Фейсбуке, уже некоторые сообщают о погибших наших гражданах. Все это очень печально. Это если говорить о войне. Чем могут помочь ваши зрители? Первое, что можно сделать, и чем мы так и занимаемся, это снижаем зависимость от нефти. То есть используйте веломобили, используйте велосипеды. Для небольших городов это действительно решение, особенно если это будут не только одноместные спортивные аппараты, но и более приспособленные к бытовым поездкам, к повседневному использованию. Веломобили как одноместные, так и двухместные, детские, всякие. То есть это огромное поле для развития, и нам нужно это развивать. Это действительно поможет. Также вы можете помочь Джейсону, нашему заказчику. Пока что он все делает за свой счет, финансирует меня. Поэтому, если вы сделаете предзаказ, вложите какую-то часть денег в это, то вы имеете шанс получить веломобиль в первую очередь, принять участие в испытаниях, высказать свое мнение, пожелания по улучшению, что бы вы хотели изменить, и это будет учитываться. Кроме того, я хочу помочь Джейсону развить производство веломобилей в США. Доставка из Украины до войны стоила не менее $2000. Это только до Нью-Йорка. Так что создание производства в Соединенных Штатах должно снизить стоимость веломобиля для жителей Соединенных Штатов. Так что вы тоже можете этим помочь, если поможете с организацией производства. В принципе, вот и все. Спасибо за внимание. Специально для Light Bike Reports.
Wow. Okay, Aleksey, I want to thank you so much for taking the time under incredibly tough circumstances, obviously, produce that video for us and show us what's going on there. You can hear the emotion. I certainly did in Aleksey's voice in that. There was an update. Aleksey sent me a very short video that we're going to show you here in a second to show you the Velomobile coming out of the molds. And while we play that, there's no audio. I wanted to have Doug and hopefully Joseph. Are you back with us now?
I'm here. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah,
Good.
much better.
Great,
much better.
thanks.
All right, so Larry, go ahead and hit the video. We're going to watch the video of the update, just of the coming out of the mold, and then Joseph, go ahead and tell us what, if you have some thoughts on what you've seen from Aleksey and Jason there. Go ahead, Larry.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead. No, Joseph, go ahead.
Well, first, I think it's very impressive that, if you will, somewhere out in the boonies of Ukraine, something like this happens, and it looks like he's really given it a lot of thought and put a lot of work in there. And I think some smart, actually, technology with his wooden measurements for all of the dimensions with the knees and the feet and all that. So I wish him luck, but I know it is a hell of a lot of work. This is a complicated market. It's not a very big one. And if you enter into that market with something new, there's always a high risk to it. But, you know, I'm full of admiration of the people who do this with so much enthusiasm. And in this type of environment, you know, think of the war and all that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joseph. And Doug, you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, it's been very interesting watching the development here. Aleksey and Jason have been very open with what they're doing and how they're doing it and where they're headed. And, you know, I think it's fascinating. It's going to be really a change in how this market evolves based on what they've come up with. So I think it's fantastic. I kind of wished it would hurry up and get it out there, but let's, you know, obviously this is complicated and they need to take their time and get it right. But it's fantastic how far they've gotten in such a short period of time.
Very good. And guys, Velodreamer, Aleksey is on the live chat with us. He has thanked us there, and yeah, we thank you, Aleksey. We really appreciate all you're doing for the world of recumbents and velomobiles, and your personal situation is very difficult as well. We won't get into that here, but guys, the links to Velodreamer, Aleksey, and Jason are going to be in the description below. So send your support if you can, and we're going to keep an eye on this, of course. Aleksey, thank you very much. All right, guys, let's jump on to our next segment here, which is an update on the Velotilt. So many of you remember from earlier last year, we had Mike Lecka on the show to talk about the Velomobile project that he acquired from the Netherlands, from Vim, and that long-going project. He is updating that, and he's going to give us the latest on the Velotilt right now. Larry?
Okay, right to the little machine shop. There is the R&D machine. There's the Velotilt. I finally got finished with the outrigger molds. The orange ones are polyester molds, and the black ones are epoxy molds. And over here is the plugs that made them, the gray plugs. And Wim's wheel wells look great. And so over here is the mule. It's got SRAM rear suspension. There's the tilt unit Wim designed. And the cross member is still his design. I just switched the bearings from Steel to Igus.com because they sponsor me. And then the shock coils came from Lee Springs. They're all over the world. They're a big company. And there is no gas or oil. Those are drilled out. So it's really just a spring. There's no gas shock in there. It's drilled out. And these shafts are from McMaster Carr. And I could show you the seat. It's kind of kind of a takeoff on a Milan. Just move that out of the way. And you can take the seat out in a second. And just, there you are. Front, there's slump drive and a roll-off. And then there's music, bells, lights, whistles, phones, mirrors, and this is a rocker switch for the electric motor, for electric tilt. We had the motor right here one time, and it did good until you sat in it, but it was 400 newtons. So we got another motor now. This one's 1500 newtons, and I just haven't had time to put it back on. So I usually put it right there where that shock is. And it's already wired. You see the wires are already coming back there, so I can do that trial pretty soon. And over here, when you look at the mule, you're looking at this too, because it already has the tilt unit in there, just like that one. And the tilt lock system is 90 millimeter Sturmey Archer drum brake. And then both of the wheels on both of them are 90 millimeter drums. And then two cables go into the rear. No front brake on either one right now. And Gates Belt sponsors me. So this is the second program I did with them trial, because over there on the four-wheeler, I did another one a year ago, or more than a year ago, a couple years ago. So this is a pinion and a slump and a Gates, and it should be fun to ride. It has a Gates Belt snubber, and this is from skateboard. And over here is the mold. And this is another thing I've come up with. This is a light.NL wheel, and I put a roll-off in it and just cut a different star like they use. It's a 10 bolt star. And then that's going to be nice too. Gets the weight down on a tilt unit. In my opinion, you need the weight down. And you can run a belt on that or a chain, either one. And this is sheet wax. And I'll form that down in the floor of the mold real soon, and I'll make the front base mount and the rear base mount for the carbon boom. And then I made the Velotilt flat in the rear, like a Snook, or, you know, After 7 or Alpha 9 or whatever. And I also made the mold 4 parts instead of 2 for easy layup. Here's the rollover that bolts on there. It just makes for easier work. And this thing's on 8 wheels. And here's the plug for the carbon boom I'm working on. It's going to be really nice in one piece. And then when I get the feet made, I will combine them down at the base of this. That thing will be cut and narrowed, and this will be finished. And then there's Bondo and carbon and sand till your fingers are bleeding. And so the front boom tower is right here, and then the rear boom tower is right here by the seat, and it'll become one piece, and I'll pull a 2-part split mold off of it. And there is the winter top, the summer top, and there's the mold for the uppers that make both of these uppers here. You know, you've seen that before. And then I got to show you my Quattrovelo. This is the lightest Quattrovelo on earth. I made it, and there's a little light down in here. It came with disc brakes, and I put twin Sturmey Archer brakes on mine. So I had to show you that. And the new Velotilt will not have a hole here in the front. The hole will be like more conventional Velomobiles nowadays, maybe a NACA scoop there. And I really like that dashboard the Milan put in. So, you know, your air's coming in there and you control it. So no more snorkel. It's just air will be in the upper. And you can follow Recumbents.com. I'm on there. And my YouTube channel is Velotilt. So just go there and keep up with stuff. Thanks.
And thank you, Mike. That was very interesting. Always interesting work that Mike does. Joseph, any thoughts?
Well, I've watched and followed the development when Wim did it over in the Netherlands with a couple of people who are actually very experienced themselves. And I was kind of sorry when I saw that they were giving up on the project. And so it's good to see that Mike has picked it up and is actually carrying it forward and not just, you know, finishing the product, but adding to it. To me, you know, I'm a simple rider. I'm not a technician. To me, it seems over complex. But I'm very curious to see how it rides and how it performs once it is ready. I could never do it. You know, I personally prefer the simplicity of things, but I'm always open to new developments and new experiences.
Okay, and that's what this would be. And Doug, what about you?
You know, it's an interesting mix of technology, both old and new. Every time Mike does an update on this, I'm always interested to see what he's come up with and the changes. I mean, there's so much on this that both Wim and Mike have done to make this bike a technological marvel. I think that you know, and I told Mike this before when we talked. I said, I can't wait till you get a couple of these put together because I want to get out and ride the thing and see how it performs, because it may solve a whole lot of the issues. It may create new ones. It's such a departure from the norm. And so I'm looking forward to see how it works.
Yeah. Honza has a good question here. I don't know if either of you fellas can answer this. Mike was on earlier. I'm not sure he's on the live chat now. Any idea how that schlump works with the belt drive and the tilting mechanism?
There was one version I saw that he had on there where it basically the schlump drive was you know where the bottom bracket was. It was cranked in there, and then basically it was sitting in that top bracket there at the nose, and it would work like a normal schlump drive. At that point, you just the belt or the chain ran around it, and then connected into the drivetrain, and then whatever in the secondary gearing mechanism that he was using.
Okay, and I see that Mike is on the live chat. So, Mike, if you want to answer that question in the live chat, that would be great. People, I'm sure, will be interested. So, and with that, Mike, thank you. And we're going to move along to our next set of interviews. Now, these are by Josef, who had occasion to head to Dronten in the Netherlands to Velomobile.nl, and has a great interview there with Allert and Eva. About the Snoek L and a few other things as well. So let's kick this off and see what happened with Josef at Velomobile.nl.
Folks, here we are at Velomobile.nl in Dronten, the Netherlands, the epicenter of the Velomobile world. And I'm here with Allert. Thank you very much, Allert, for taking the time this morning to speak to us, to speak to the Laid-Back Bike Report, which, of course, is also viewed over here in Europe. And today we would like to talk a little bit about Velomobile.nl, and in particular about the Snoek L version, which is the larger version of this beautiful Velomobile, the Snoek. So, Allert, how do you like the response of the Velomobile riders on the Snoek. Is that overwhelming, or is that what you had expected?
Well, I made it for Eva.
Yeah.
My wife. So, and it started out as a sort of a hobby project. I didn't really intend to produce it. So it's kind of a surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, it turns out to be, you can say the fastest production Velomobile. And it seems like a lot of people want that speed.
Yeah, and the order book is quite filled, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the lead time at this point?
I think about 1 year.
What, you want 1 year for a Snoek? Okay, but unfortunately, there are people like ourselves who may not be comfortable in a Velomobile of this size.
Yeah, I don't fit in. I never rode it. That's a pity, because I would like to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a real pity to not being able to ride your own creation.
Yeah, right. And it's not good also if you want to make some changes, let's say, and the steering geometry or the way it behaves at high speed or things like that.
Yeah.
So I only hear from people that ride it that something is not good or could be improved or should be different, but I don't know.
Yeah. Did you make any changes to the series model, so to the regular production model of the Snoek?
The steering geometry we changed, but we changed it on all of them, so there's not one that doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And at the moment, Dennis from France, he's working on stability at high speed, mainly because he crashed at high speed.
Oh.
He was lucky to come out unharmed. But he crashed at 80 kilometers an hour.
Dennis is the guy who also builds the Duo Quest, isn't he?
Yeah.
In Brittany, in France.
Right. Yeah. So at the moment he's experimenting with a spoiler. He made a spoiler like you see the most car spoilers, like the horizontal spoiler in the back. He said it doesn't work. Yeah. It only slows you down. And he also did an experiment with sort of a shark fin on the back.
Okay.
And he said that does work. That gives it.
So that fin would be sort of put on. Is it an add-on, or would you add it to this?
No, I do it as an add-on. I was curious what he would find, because I can still make changes on the Snoek L, which I'm working on currently. Yeah. But I don't want to make a shark fin integrated because. A lot of people will never drive so fast. Anyway, not people in the lowlands like here in Holland or northern Germany. So it would be good as an add-on. Yeah. So just let's say 2 screws or just tape it on.
And tape it on. Yeah. Can I show it into the camera like this? You see this? This is the stabilization fin we were talking about for the very high-speed people among us. But Allert, now let's talk a little bit about the Snoek L. Pretty soon after this had come out, and orders kept flooding in, and people asking, now why can this not be made for someone like me? You decided to quickly introduce or quickly prepare a larger version.
No, it's not so much about people asking. It's more about me and Theo.
Okay. So you want to ride this,
We want to ride it, so that's the main reason. Like, the main reason for making the Snoek was Eva.
Yeah.
But I would like to... I love my Quattro. I'm perfectly happy with my Quattro, and I will use it for commuting and shopping, things like that. But I'd like to have a fast one on the side. So, that's where it started. So I'm making one that would just fit Theo.
Okay.
Now, Theo is 1 meter... 96.
All right, 196, so is the benchmark.
Yeah. So that would be maximum to fit in. So we started from there, and as we know that Theo can...
fit into the Quattro Velo,
Quattro Velo, normal Quattro Velo, not the Plus version. He can just fit in. He's just clear with the knees. Oh, he's touching sometimes, but that would be what we want for the Snoek, just very tight fit.
Okay, so you take that measurement here.
So you just measure from here to the seat, And we know that this height, or let's say maybe half a centimeter extra, would be perfect to fit Theo in. And then we measure it from here. And the difference is what we have to add to the Snoek.
Which is then how much is it? Like
it's 10. I've added 65 millimeters, so
6.5 centimeters more, 65 millimeters more. But that's not all that there is. You know, now you've added 65 millimeters here.
Yeah, well, actually, I added it on a different. But there's some pictures. Maybe you can mix in some of these pictures. But in the cut was here on the widest, or actually, as you do this, you will find where
the widest part
widest point is. So it varies. So it starts here and then it goes down and it goes up again at the tail. So that's where the cut is, and the 65 millimeters is added. But then Theo has long legs, so we also had to add some in the length.
Right.
So that's why we cut it at the widest point here. And added 10 centimeters there.
So it's the Snoek L will be 10 centimeters longer.
A bit more than that.
A bit more, because you also added some in the back.
Some in the tail.
Yeah.
Because the small Snoek is a tight fit for the 700C wheel.
Right.
And you see this almost here.
Yes. Yeah.
On the
against the wheel arch. Yes.
Yeah. So I would like to have a little bit more here. So I added the tail. I don't know exact, maybe 6-8 centimeters about here. And then we had this thing in the width.
Yeah.
Because there was this one.
There's also this distance here, you know, which
the shoulder width is the thing. Theo fits in, I can fit in, but people with a little wider shoulders cannot. So we decided to add a little bit in the width. So we made a cut right
over
here,
there,
and then ended up with 2 cuts here to make the bumps a little wider, and then back to 1 cut here, all through the bottom, and just make it 2 centimeters wider. It's just 2 centimeters.
It's just 2 centimeters wider in this dimension, which means you get 1 centimeter on each side of the shoulders.
For the shoulders, right? Yeah.
Okay, and now that is now done.
That is done. Yeah.
The plugs are in Romania.
No,
not yet.
I'm working on it.
Oh, you're working on it. So the plugs are at your home.
Yeah.
But essentially the final shape is done. Is there?
Yeah.
So now it's all a little bit of refinement, sanding, or
you have to smooth it out, because if you have a curve like this and you make a cut here. And you widen it.
Yes, you have to reshape the curve.
You have to reshape. You have to not only add a bit, but you have to start right here to make it a really fluent line and a nice curve. So yes, a lot of putty goes on that.
Yeah. Okay. And that means sometime during the summer, this will be done.
We hope so. Yeah.
And then that goes to Romania to create.
Yeah. Well, I would like to build a mold like we did with the smaller Snoek.
Build it here.
Build a mold here.
Yeah.
And make the first. I think we made 3 or 4 Snooks before we send it all to Romania. So that they made their own mold there. Yeah. But now we also sent our mold there to increase production. But I'd like to build the first ones ourselves, just to find out how to do the lamination and where.
But then you also have to adjust some of the interior parts, don't you? Like there needs to be a new bridge, and everything needs to be readjusted to the new dimensions.
It's not as much work as it was for this Snoek, but because you can still use large parts of the wheel boxes that are there, but they don't fit perfectly, so you have to make new flanges and adapt to it.
Do you also get 2 centimeters more between the wheel arches?
We did not make up our minds about that, because if you keep it this way, I would fit in, Theo would fit in, and the 2 centimeters you could use the 2 centimeters to make the wheel boxes a little bit wider, which would make your turning signal a little bit less. Yeah, you could do that.
You know,
Maybe
sometimes you have those people with this really big thighs that they complain about rubbing on the wheel arches.
Yeah.
Huh? So that's something that I would anticipate, that you then have people say, "Oh, but I'm touching all the time." And,
but that would be at the expense of the turning circle then.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. So the Snoek L is to be expected on the market towards the end of the year, next spring.
Maybe. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Could be.
And I'm revealing a little secret here. There is already a not official list of people interested in this. You haven't even started your formal list, haven't you? Yeah. So, folks who want to be among the earliest adopters, write an email to Velomobile.nl rather sooner than later to be able to be introduced into that informal list of people interested in the Snoek L.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, some other change.
Yes.
Because now I have one, so I'm working at this at home. And I have a seat, so I can sit in it and see if everything is like I would like it to be. And then I found out that the headrest here is quite close, so I wanted to have a little
bit
more
further
room.
back.
Yeah, so I made a cut through here and put just the front part a bit more to the back. So I have about, I think it was 4 centimeters extra now. So
that you have in the...
Yeah, for... If you have a helmet or you would like to have a really soft
cushion there,
pad then you have
because otherwise you would be touching with your head pretty soon here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I also did that. I made some changes to the design, so this line runs there and making some.
But you know that this distance here is rather short is on purpose, because once you sit in here, your shoulders are safely under here. Which will mean that you will not, in case of a rollover, you will likely remain inside instead of being catapulted outside the Velomobile.
Probably, yes. Up to some point,
but that also requires you need a new hood.
But it's also because you don't get so much air which falls into this hole.
Right.
And that's...
creating resistance then. Yeah. You have an air outlet in the rear?
Here's the air outlet.
Yeah. Which seems to be necessary now with the fast Velomobiles, that when you ride them with a hood, that you actually need to begin to think about how the air is getting out. Yeah. Oh, that's... I mean, in former times, that was not a consideration, because we were not that fast.
Well, we had this... Matthias was one of the first to ride it, and he said... when he opened up the visor, this... He lost this.
Because the air pressure would push it out.
This pushed it out and it flew away. He never found it again.
And did he have that hole?
He did. But for the... Then later I made one of these with the mirror cones. I made some extra exhaust for it. So 2 of them I laminated on. And he says it really helps because all the air, if you want air to get in, it has to find some way to get out.
To get out.
It won't do it.
Right. Now that you have made it a little bit longer, you have also somewhat more options on the cassette that you can use, or on the derailleur that you can use in the rear, because there's a little bit more space.
The width. That's the thing. That's
the width.
There's a little more space for the derailleur. But I'm not sure yet which ones will fit. But in this one, there's actually only the Shimano Shadow derailleur will fit.
Okay.
And
with like what, an 11 to 40?
Yeah, that works.
11 speed?
Yeah.
That works in this one?
In this one, yeah.
And
but in the Snoek L, because it's wider, there's more space.
So you can pick different derailleurs from Shimano?
Probably, well, definitely you will. Yeah. There will be more that will fit in. But I don't know about all the derailleurs, the dimension of all brands and types. I don't know that.
All right.
There will certainly be one that fits.
Okay.
And probably more.
Well, thank you very much, Allert. That's been very informative, and we're looking forward to the Snoek L. I have to say I'm pretty eager myself to be able to fit into one and to experience the ride. I've heard about it so much, and it's been discussed intensively on the German forum, of course, and I think it should be very popular in Germany also, because there we have the conditions for really fast riding there. Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, welcome.
This is the interview, Velomobile.nl Part 2. With me here now is Eva. Eva and Allert are married, have children, and Eva is the primary reason for the existence of this Velomobile. You wanted something more designed for your size, and this is the reason why the Snoek has been built. Now, Eva, since you're the designated rider, what's your experience with the Snoek?
Yeah, I had it actually this week with Allert. We talked about that. For me, the Snoek is like well, I have also a racing bike, and I have also a cargo bike, and the Quest was for me like a cargo bike, and the Snoek is the racing bike. So it's actually a huge difference that I am now for the first time experiencing the same what Allert was already 20 years experiencing with the Quest. Yeah. Just low resistant bicycle. Yeah. So it's very light for me, and it's just fast, and you can speed up very easily. So it takes just little energy to get on high speed, and you can keep it for a long time.
Yeah. You've also been racing your Snoek.
Yes.
Pretty successfully, I've seen. It's a pretty fast machine on the course, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very fast. Actually, too fast for the Netherlands, I would say, as you have to stay here on the cyclepaths. So I don't go very fast here. I just enjoy that it takes a little energy to go actually pretty fast. Yeah.
You've been regularly riding a Quattrovelo before, also, didn't you? As a commuter bike.
Yes.
So that's the Snoek is probably a world apart from the Quattrovelo with its what is it, like 13 kilos more than the Snoek, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. The one was 10 kilo. Mine Quattro was 32, and the Snoek now is like 21.
Okay. 22. And 21.5 is also the weight of the Romanian production models.
It depends on the components, what the customer takes. It's I have also a bit different wheels. Like I have the rims with 28 holes and things, which we cannot get now, and so
standard is 32 then, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And but people put their bigger brakes, the hub brakes.
Yes, the 90 millimeter.
And that's like
brakes,
580 grams more or something. Mountain drives is 800 grams and things like that. It's just it really depends on the components you put there.
In our interview, Allert says he was so envious. He and Theo were so envious of you riding the Snoek that was the main motivation for creating the Snoek L. So you are personally very pleased with the ride, or you love to ride it.
Actually, yeah. Every time I come back from the ride, I'm really happy. And I thought I will not use it for commuting because it's just so it's less practical than other velomobiles we make. Yeah. You cannot get on the cycle path or on the walk paths and
because of the ground clearance.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I use it already.
And I think yours is parked outside, isn't it?
Yes, it's there.
Let's take a look. See, there it is. That's right next to Allert's Quattrovelo. There's Eva's Snoek. Anything else you would like to add, Eva, to your riding experience that you would like to share with other prospective Snoek riders?
Yes, everybody's concentrated on the high speed. Mm-hmm. But what I really love is that you just can keep 35, 40 kilometer per hour speed for hours, for days. It's just low.
It's so effortless.
It's the most efficient bike we have ever made. So that's just the most important for me.
Thank you. Now, one of the innovations of the Quattrovelo, Allert, was that you had this footplate, that you could take off. And that idea also made it into the Snoek. So the Snoek now, sitting very low to the ground, has foot bulges sitting on a plate that you can take off easily because it's Velcroed on. Yeah. See, there's this big hole down there where the plate goes with the bulges. And now we have here in front of us a range of different bulges. Here you see, this is a standard one.
There's actually two for the Snoek. So this one is with the bigger bulges, and this is with the smaller ones.
Okay.
And this one has the Velcro attachment.
All right. And
for this one, the same. The first one, but that's only Eva's Snoek.
Was with screws.
With the screws, like in the Quattro.
And totally flat, right?
And
it's very flat.
Yeah. The flat one is actually good for making holes. So if you want to back up, you can use your feet.
Right. Which of course, on the open wheel well Velomobiles, you use the wheelchair method when you want to back up, which of course with a closed wheel well, you can't really do unless you can get your hands to the ground, and push yourself back, but which is not easy when you have a hood.
No, it would not. No.
But in any case, what happens is this. You see the scratches here on a fairly new Snoek, and over time, and particularly when you crash harder, like I have done a number of times, this has a lot of cracks and breaks and becomes very soft because it is broken.
But actually this one won't break so easily because it's this way around.
Yes.
It will just be pushed in. And
the
Velcro will...
Right, it's because it's Velcroed on,
allow it to be pushed in. So it won't break so easily. But we have an even better solution for that.
Yeah.
This is actually one of the Quattrovelo. This was just for practice. It's made out of glass fiber. But we make it with epoxy resin on this part, and the bulges itself is made with a rubber, polyurethane rubber.
Yeah, so you can push this in easily, and this is as stiff as it need be.
Yeah, you can just push it in without any damage. So we made the first one for the Snoek with the same rubber bulges.
Okay, it still doesn't solve the issue of backing up, because that you would only be able to do with cutting a hole into it.
Yeah.
But probably this would be good for most pilots who are concerned about ruining their Snoek through scratching it too much. Mm-hmm. Is either if they are short and have short, smaller feet, they can use this version. Or they can go to this version with the rubber in it.
Yeah. But then again, it's a replaceable part. So if it gets too badly damaged, you just replace it.
Right.
No problem. But here we have, it's still there. So at some point, this one is
oh yes.
At some point, it'll be...
At some point, this will see the light of production day. Folks, what you see here in all its virginesque beauty is the original model of the Quest 3.0. With its front end inspired by the Quattrovelo, with later on closed, but
Yeah, they will be closed. There's something here.
closed wheel wells. Okay, here are the wheel wells. Yes.
It's the wrong one.
Yeah, it's for the other side.
That's the idea.
Yeah, that's the idea. Plus, with these US 1960s, 70s inspired tail fin.
To get a proper distance between the blinkers.
Between the lights, yes, that's right. But that was the main reason for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, when will that see the light of day?
Oh, I don't know. I don't. I make no promises.
No.
For that.
There's simply too much work to do on other projects.
Yeah. And the regular work, like, you know.
Yeah. But it is there. Could be completed, and most of the work is done.
Yeah. Yeah, this one was actually drawn in 3D, and this one was like it is here, or it's made with a milling machine.
Yes.
So this was the digital version. Only when you do something like that, well, I can do it. I cannot make a 3D drawing in. So, but we have someone who is a professional at it,
and he can do that.
But what I did, I made a scale model. He's in Honza now.
Yes.
And we scanned it with 3D scanner.
Yeah.
So he used that as a base to make his 3D drawing.
The little yellow model that...
No, the blue one.
Oh, the blue one. It's slightly larger than that, yeah.
So but then, what I find difficult is you're just looking at the screen and you can turn it around and everything, but it's not like real life. It's still...
Yeah.
Although it's 3D and you can do all kinds of
tricks. It just happens on the screen.
It's not real. And when you get it real, when it's made out like this, you will see things that you still want to change.
Yeah.
So you see the greenish stuff
that's
again the putty made by hand.
Because you changed the shape of the cockpit.
Yeah, I wanted to change some things there and some things here. So probably will change some more. Because it was just... It's difficult to see everything on the screen.
But it is there. For those of you people out there waiting for the Quest 3.0, it exists, not just on a screen, but also in a one-to-one scale model. So keep waiting and keep hoping. Here we are at Allert's design cage, where you see the plug, the basic model, the original model of the Snoek L. Right, this is the state it's in now. Allert, you want to explain something about it? What needs to be done on this? Still?
Yeah, I have to check for symmetry. We have some tools for that, like this one. And of course, where it was cut, you have to find.
Yeah.
This is quite good now, but there's some work here still. Symmetry is not completely now here, and the tail extension, things like that. So if you extend the tail, it will mean that you have to. If you just keep the same width here, and you make it longer, it will make you will have to start here.
Yes, in order to
adding material, putting the putty on, because you can see that this is where it was, and now it's added.
That's about a good 1.5 centimeters. Yeah,
which is good because it makes more space for material.
Right. But it is visibly larger, isn't it? You know, when you see it, it's visibly larger than the Snoek.
Well, all the yellow parts you see, that's the original.
That's the original still,
that came out of the mold for the small Snoek, and all the gray, that's the putty.
Right.
So you see, if you cut it here, you have to go from there to there to make the Snoek, and this is not even as it should be. There's some more work there.
Yeah.
The only part that's really the same is this this recess here. That's still the same.
Yeah.
Although changing a little bit here because we had the cut.
Because you made two cuts
on the top here.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So only the lower part is the same, but these bulges are actually 1 centimeter wider. So for the bigger feet and shoes and as mentioned for the mountain drive as well.
Very good.
So everything will change. Also inside the wheel boxes and everything has to be adapted to this new shape.
Yeah. So as you mentioned just now, we didn't have that in the earlier interview. Now the Snoek as it comes today cannot really fit a mountain drive because the queue distance is with a mountain drive is too large. The Snoek L will be able to take a mountain drive, most likely.
The narrow version of the mountain drive.
The narrow version of the mountain drive. All right. Because otherwise you fit a double chain wheel or a single chain wheel? Double chain wheel.
Double. Most people have a double one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a 10 or 11 speed cassette.
11. Yeah.
11. So it's a double with 11, so that should cover most needs.
Yeah. But the range with
is wider, of course.
Is wider.
Yeah, I know.
You cannot get it to a factor 2.5 with just chain blades.
Yeah. My Quattrovelo had a mountain drive, and I know that. I had a 75 with a 2.5, which is a very nice
because
low
if
gear.
You have 75 with a 2.5, you get a 30 tooth on the front.
Yeah, right.
And if you have 36 in the back on a 20-inch wheel,
that's right. That you can crawl up the walls. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So for this, the Quest 3 is not the first one which was milled and drawn in a computer. Actually, the same approach was with the Quattrovelo. So I made this thing by hand, then it was scanned put in a computer, and it was mirror image to make it symmetrical. And then from that one, in styropor, 1-to-1 model was milled. But then, as you can see with these, which are from a mold, you can see that this looks a bit different. From that point on, I had this in 1-to-1 in styropor, and so okay, I have to make some changes here.
Yeah.
So this was all done by hand, and actually there was no trunk, so the whole trunk situation here was done by hand. So that was quite a bit of work.
Yeah. So. Because you have a better feel for it when you can touch it or when you can.
Yeah, and also if you have to draw all that, that's still very time consuming, and when you work on it, you see things and also because it takes so long, it's in your mind, and it's in your dreams, so to say.
Yeah.
And when you live with the thing you're building for so long, you get all kind of ideas along the way, which you don't get when you just see it on the screen, and you have to say, if it's all right like that, then you only see it for an hour maybe, and no more.
Yeah.
And that's really different when you really have to living with it, or you just have to give it the go or no go.
Yes. And that's why it is good that it takes some time.
And then you see little things like this where you say maybe some rain water.
This is where you put this a bit further back here.
I have some. I have some pictures of that, but I made a cut here like that and put that back about this much.
Yeah. And that was an experience from sitting in it, sitting in the model.
Wow. Okay. What a great set of interviews, Josef. Thanks for that. If we could just take a couple of minutes to cover a couple of things, and then I'll get your thoughts on what we just saw. First of all, from Dam Runner, he's asking about the ground clearance on the Snoek. So lots of talk about how loaded the ground it was and the foot panels. Do you guys know, or Josef, do you know exactly what the ground clearance is?
I don't have an exact number, but it is with the Milan. It shares the lowest ground clearance. I think it is 6, maybe 7 centimeters or so.
All right.
Yeah, it's about an inch. So roughly in there at where that chain tunnel is, and then depending on the front wheels, you can get a little more or a little less depending on what kind of front wheels you've got on it.
All right, and Doug, let's stay with you, and we'll come back to Joseph on this too. So Marco Ruga, our pal in Italy, asked a couple of questions, including this. So you're building the Snoek L. It's going to have a larger frontal area, he expects, and I think that's probably true. How much do you think it'll be significantly slower? This is all really hard to guess at, but what do you think? Doug,
the Milan SL and the Milan GT, which the GT is a bigger version of the Milan, is not significantly slower. It's a little bit slower. It's measurably slower, but not a lot. Maybe 1 or 2% at 30 miles an hour, more watts to maintain that kind of speed. So I can't see the Snoek L being that appreciably slower than the Snoek. Joseph, what are your thoughts? So you've ridden all these things too, but I don't see a big difference just because it's a couple of centimeters larger.
Yeah, I agree to that, Doug. We'll have later on, when talking about the A9 by Daniel Fenn, which is, when you see this in the flesh, it is huge. And he still claims it is as good, if not better, than the much smaller Alpha 7. So I think, yes, frontal area plays a role, but it's not all that there is. I think it's the entire set of parameters, and Daniel, in the interview that we will see later, talks about that a lot. There's an entire set of parameters that in the end determines how fast you actually are, and you can still be fast with a larger frontal area. And I think one of the reasons why Velomobile.nl sticks to the closed wheel wells is because the wheel well issue is one of the rather influential factors about overall speed. If you really close off the wheel wells, that does make a significant difference.
All right, and congrats to Mike Smith, who spotted the Duo Quest in the garage there when Allert was talking. Yeah. I noticed that when Joseph did it too. So that's some eagle eyes there, Mike. Good job. All right, I think we're going to move on. You guys good to move on?
Yeah, let me just add one word.
Go ahead, Joe.
I think what I very much liked about the conversation with Allert is that it gives you a feel that even in the digital age, that there is something to it, to handcrafting the final shape of such a velomobile. And he talks about it. Then you sleep with it. He says, and he touches it while we talk with his hands all the time, because that's part of that. You have to feel the shape with your hand. You have to be with it for a longer time to get to the optimal point. And something that I found in my conversation with Daniel to be repeated. So that's something that we can learn from these builders and developers is the importance of time and in sort of contact and hands in this.
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that people talk about is velomobiles are very expensive, and they hear this a lot when I'm talking to folks. And quite honestly, it's not the production; it's all of this other stuff that you're seeing that takes place. I mean, we're talking about a velomobile, the Snoek L, that is still in design, and it's the better part of a year before it moves, and they had an existing prototype to start with. So you're paying for all of this R&D as well.
All right. Very good. All right, guys, it's time to move on. I just want to pop in here. There's Saukki still on the live chat. He has not gone to sleep, even though it's getting very late there in Finland. So, folks, this show, of course, is going to be one of our longest ever, but we hope the content that we're bringing you is worth staying up for, even if you're in cold, snowy Finland. Thanks for sticking with us, Saukki. And Larry, if you're ready, I think we're going to go now to Joseph's interview with Ymte that we did a week or so ago, talking about the new DF-XL. So let's have a look at that.
A very good afternoon to Ymte Sijbrandij in Dronten, the Netherlands, the owner and boss of Intercity Bike-The, the producer of the famous DF and DF-XL Velomobile. How are you, Ymte?
Oh, I'm fine. Yeah, It's okay.
How's business going this time? Are you as busy as we can read everybody in the cycling business is?
There's always something to do, but we do it at our own pace. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You have a big order book at this point?
Oh, it's changing a lot. The order list was quite short, but this month we got 9 new sales, so it's longer again. Yeah.
What is the lead time at this point? How long do customers have to wait when they order with you now?
Oh, it's not too bad. 8-9 weeks, I think.
Okay. Are you satisfied with the fact that so much of the Velomobile production is now focused in that company in Romania? Is that on balance an asset to the Velomobile market, or is it also a liability because it is one major facility only?
Yeah, that's a weakness too, but it's strong too because they specialized and they can do the carbon work very well. But it's a risk too, but we have small businesses, so we have to take this risk.
I was made aware that you, but also others, had to kind of go through the new machines when they were delivered before you could hand them over to the customer, because the quality wasn't always as good or as excellent as you expect them or your customers expect them to be.
Yeah, we always have to do a checkup, most mechanical things, but that's relatively easy to adjust. If the paint is not nice, it's difficult to adjust.
All right. Yeah. But nowadays, I think the paint quality also is excellent, isn't it? And now that it is all brush painted, it's not gel coat anymore like it used to be in the old days. When I was in your workshop last, I saw the prototype of a modified DF-XL. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what you have in mind with that new iteration of the DF?
Yeah, well, it's still a DF, but some people ride with the hose and the covered wheels, and that's really faster. But it's an issue with the maneuverability. So we thought if we use slightly smaller wheels, the wheels of the Brompton fault bike, we can have the same maneuverability with the wheels closed. And the wheels are slightly smaller, a little bit more rolling resistance on bad roads, but that's not much. We tested it out and
Any other modifications to the DF-XL other than to have covered front wheels?
Yeah, some small things. The surface hatch is a bit more to the front, so small things that makes working on it easier.
And now the original form is in Romania to be worked on, or?
Yeah, they're gonna smoothen the surface, polish it, and make the molds, and then send the first body back. And we're going to build a bike from it, and measure all things out, and then make the drawings for the parts, and then it will be produced. We hope to receive the first bike in 8 weeks or so.
Okay.
So it's after summer. If everything goes well, we should be able to deliver the first ones to customers.
Okay, I'd be eager to see that and to be able to try it out. Let's move on to another issue. Recently, there has been echoes in the Velomobile community because the Mango producers, Dreimer, who took over Zinner some time ago, announced that they were closing that segment of their work. And so Mango owners were asking themselves, what happens now? And also Hilgo owners, which was the last or the latest product they introduced. And then one could read that Intercity Bike was taken over the parts for Mango's, which means that Mango owners or Hilgo owners can now turn to you for spare parts and repairs. Is that right?
Yeah. We took all over. We took the stock of all the parts, and Well, we already knew the Mango. My co-worker Peter, he owned one himself.
Yeah.
I worked at Velomobile.nl when the Mango was designed. So yes, we can do the service.
Yeah. And are you thinking of producing any new Mangos or Hilgos?
No, not a Mango, but the Hilgo. Oh, I always liked the bike. It's promising. It's compact. It's fast. And we see possibilities for it to make a restart with the Hilgo. Yeah.
Okay. In your judgment, what was the major reason for Dreamer to pull out of that business? Is it because it was marginal to their own economic interest, or what is the story behind this?
Yeah, there are a lot of stories behind such a thing, but the main thing, I think, it was not profitable.
Mm-hmm.
They had some issues. They make the bodies themselves. The man who laminated the bodies had some issues with his health. And well, if it's a small company, if someone is sick, the whole thing stops.
An old friend of ours, Harry, who was for many years the face of the Mango to many people, has now moved on to Räderwerk in Germany and working on the Milan.
Yeah, especially on the Milan double seat prototype.
Yeah, which is also, one of those models that have been introduced years ago, and I attracted a couple of interest, a couple of I think orders even, but they never really delivered on their orders, and now it seems that they are getting around the corner to actually bring a few of those Milan 4.2 they are called to the market.
That's an interesting concept,
yeah.
But issues about producing it, I don't know about it.
So we wish you lots of success with that addition to your portfolio, the Mango and Hilgo. And I think a lot of people interested in the Hilgo will be pleased to hear that you're at least considering to offer the Hilgo for production. So we from our side, we'd like to encourage everyone interested in the Hilgo to just write you an email so that you can make your decisions depending on the interest that there is.
Yeah, well, we're open for suggestions.
Yeah.
But yeah, it takes time. We have to build a prototype first. We had some interesting ideas about the suspension. We already tested in a four-wheeler prototype, and we think it would suit the Hilgo also, this system of suspension.
Ymte, which brings up another last question from my side. Yeah. When I was at your workshop, I also saw your four-wheeler prototype coming back to the shop from some testing, I believe. And there is a rideable model there now with an interesting looking shell also. Is that coming to the market anytime soon?
No, not like this. I've ridden it quite a lot, but I don't really like it.
Okay.
The suspension is tough, and with a four-wheeler, you feel it more than with a three-wheeler, and the speed is not what we expected.
Okay.
So it looks nice, but it's not good enough.
Okay, so that model for sure will not be going into production. But if something like that comes, a four-wheeler comes, it will look different and be constructed differently.
Yes, it should have closed wheel boxes, like the Quattro Velo. And well, we have some other ideas, but we have to work on that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Ymte. That was very instructive. And we wish you much success and much fun with your business. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
And thanks to Ymte. It's always a pleasure talking to him. Josef, any final thoughts on the DFXL?
Well, we'll have to see. I was struck a little bit when I saw that the front wheels will be 349, which is Brompton wheels. I ride a Brompton myself, and as much as I like it, I think one of the downsides of it, and Ymte mentioned that in passing, is is, on every bump in the road, you will feel much more than you do with a 20-inch wheel. And with the speeds that you get with a Velomobile, that could become a little bit tricky. So, but I'm curious to see how it works out, how the overall balance of the new DF XL will be, and then we'll have a verdict.
Very good. And Doug, I know you know a little something about it, and you haven't been you've been kind of tight-lipped about it. I know you're kind of constrained. Any thoughts you can share?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be an interesting experiment as well. I mean, the smaller front wheels have some advantages, and as Joseph just pointed out, they have some big disadvantages. Trike riders know this when they have 16-inch front wheels. They know that on a lot of the surfaces we ride on, there's a lot of impact that you can't roll over. You can't float over with a larger, like you can on larger wheels, and it tends to soak up your energy. So I think it's going to be a very interesting combination of changes that may or may not offset each other. So it will be another one of these things we wait and see, but evolution is like that.
Very good. All right, let's move along now. And a very special treat coming up, where Joseph helped us out to get an interview with Daniel Fenn, somebody I've been trying to get on the show for a very long time. It's difficult. Daniel mostly speaks only German, so we had Joseph do the translation on this during the interview, and I think it came out really well. This is a gentleman who you almost never see in a conversation online, and we're going to see him right now. Larry?
Also, mit mir hier ist Daniel Fenn. All right, here with me is Daniel Fenn, highly renowned designer of velomobiles and designer of the most successful velomobiles of the past years. And we want to talk a bit about his newest creation, or rather his newest double creation, the A9 and the M9. Daniel, you're asked why another model. What's your response? Well, my previous designs had open wheel wells, and I wanted to build one with enclosed front wheels, because closed wheel wells make for significantly higher stability in the wind. That's the main reason. However, at the same time, the A9 is much taller, wider and higher compared to the Alpha 7. Does that have to be that way? Muss das so sein? I would say that in order to fit the tallest people in, it has to look like it does. For me, the goal with the A1 was size. You know, I developed the DFXL, and what happened was that people were hitting the shell with their knees or feet. They had to change to shorter cranks. So I created the A9 in such a way that it doesn't matter which size cranks you're using. It may sound weird, but it can be done. And the most important thing in the design are the proportions of future riders. Even at the same overall height, proportions can differ up to 15 centimeters.
Okay.
All right, so that means essentially the A9 is a stable velomobile in the wind because of the closed wheel wells, which also means that... No, I have to interrupt you here. Wind stability has little to do with the overall size of the velomobile, but with the closed wheel wells. Yes, but only insofar as it concerns the trail. If you use wheel covers, for example, then the steering point at the wheel moves forward about 20 to 30 millimeters. And because of that, there's more pressure in the rear than in the front, or vice versa. That's not the point. In any case, it has strong impact on wind stability. Would you remove the wheel cover, it would become more stable. This is just one aspect. There are so many parameters that could be changed to achieve greater stability. With the Alpha 7, didn't you use negative indent on the rear section with a narrow fin at the tail end to improve wind stability, right? I have made it longer to improve stability. That is another one of these parameters, creating a counterpressure. Well, I don't know everything. In my work, theory plays an important role. Something most people will probably not expect from me. With theory, you can get extremely far in the field of aerodynamics. You need to think long and hard and keep thinking until you get some result, and then think more, and then do some testing. With the DF, I wanted to develop a very stable velomobile, but I failed completely. I was coming from the Evo K, and the DF was rather similar, though the steering was much less nervous, but not really good. Now, the current version 3 is okay, in fact, a copy of the Alpha 7 steering. However, steering and suspension is just one of the many parameters, and not a very important one either. Until the M9 appeared, the Alpha 7 was the least wind-sensitive model. But at the same time, the M9 is also the tallest, which seems to not make any sense, but it does make sense. I could explain it in all detail why it can be large and stable at the same time.
Gut. Mich würde interessieren,
I'm curious as to why you came out with the M9 so soon after the introduction of the A9. Is it because for most of the ordinary folks like myself who are smaller than 190, the A9 is too big? Oh, the A9 is way too large for people your height. It was built for people taller than 2 meters. It was built for, excuse the term, abnormally tall people, which means in particular for those with extremely long legs or very long thighs. And that is precisely where the problems arise in the DFXL or the DF, because these people hit the shell with their knees. In this regard, I've given much extra space, so there's no limit as to leg length. No matter how tall a rider is, he will never touch the shell with the knees.
Okay.
The M9 in comparison would then be for folks not as tall, but still with fairly long legs or large feet, right? Exactly. The M9 is pretty similar to the A9, maybe a slightly different knee angle, but would always be sufficient space for anyone who fits in overall. However, the M9 does have an issue like all its predecessors, and that is crank length. For most, it won't be an issue, but it could be for some. With the A9, on the other hand, it will never become a problem. So, with the A9, you could choose whatever you want. The cranks would always fit. Well, from 190 millimeter crank size with shoe size 52, it could be difficult. We will soon fit Ymte into the A9 here in my workshop, and then we'll see what works. We did measurements, of course, and the A9 has 5 to 7 centimeters more at the cranks than a DFXL. But that is with the perfectly low seating position. With the DFXL, you could sit much higher up, what we call the submarine lookout. And that doesn't work with the A9. At some point, there is a limit at the shoulders. You cannot go higher because of the cockpit rim? Yes, but that is on purpose. One should not sit higher. The head gets into the wind and you'll lose 2 to 3 kilometers. As you know, I've developed a new hood, which requires a specific head position for best view, namely the exact right one. A9 could be ordered from the factory in Romania, right? Yes, yes, you can. For several months now, actually. To my knowledge, only 2 to 3 have been delivered to customers so far, right? Yes, just 2 and my own. The pre-series models, so to say. And the M-series, will these models be coming out soon? Yes. Actually, a few have been delivered already. That's why it took longer with the A9, because we immediately began working on the smaller M9, here and in Romania, in order to give us a flying start. Both are being produced in Romania in parallel. We have more than one set of molds for the M9 in Romania now.
Okay. Dann sagen wir herzlichen Dank.
Many thanks, Daniel, for taking the time to speak with us today. Looking forward to the next time.
Bis zu einem andermal.
Okay, well, what seemed like a very simple, easy interview there took a ton of work on Joseph's part, doing the translation and all. And I can also tell you, folks, that we did a considerably longer interview than what you just saw there. And I think at some point when Josef has time, we may bring out a couple more segments. Maybe, Josef, is that the case?
Yes, that's the case. I think the easiest would be to do it in German because the translation takes an awful lot of time. But, I think we spent about 45 minutes all in all because we're trying out locations in and outside. But it's very interesting. I think you still get with the interview a bit of the feel of the personality of Daniel. Because he's a genius Velomobile developer. He focuses his attention to designing or sort of reinventing velomobiles in a way that I have not seen anywhere else. So I think Allert is a similar type, very much focused on that. But I think Daniel is living Velomobile design like I have not seen with anybody else in this world.
All right. And let's quickly, if we could, this has come up a few times in a number of discussions, the wheel covers and their aerodynamics and stability and such. Could maybe, Doug, if you want to start, could you talk about wheel covers, how they affect stability at high speeds, and the aero aspect of them as well?
So let me answer it in reverse. They're definitely more aerodynamic. You can see improvements on the top end speed or the wattage at a given speed with the wheel covers. So that's very much measurable. The stability, I think, is more subjective and more has to do with the roads and the condition of the winds and things like that. On and off of mine, honestly, I haven't been able to tell much difference in the stability on my DF with or without the wheel covers, but I definitely can tell on the speeds.
Okay. Anything else? You guys good to go on?
Yeah, we're good to go on. Yeah.
All right. Let's do that then. So next up, we're going to go to Australia, where I had a chance to chat with my pal Ben Goodall, and he's going to give us an update on the Rotovelo 2, which we have talked about previously on the show. It's been a little slow getting to market, and he's going to tell us where they are with the Rotovelo 2 right now. All right, guys, I am here with Ben Goodall down in Australia. Ben, how you doing today, mate?
Really good, mate. How are you?
Good to have you. All right, well, what we wanted to talk about today is the latest on the Rotovelo 2, and we've talked about it with you before, but I know you've had some delays. So let's start out, first of all, if you could remind our audience, what is the Rotovelo 2? How is it different than the original Rotovelo?
Sure. Rotovelo 2 is basically a rework of the original Rotovelo, taking into account some of the technology advances we've had both in molding and also in construction methods. So we've delayed this long a rework of Rotovelo because the original product is so pure and durable and reliable. We want to stay true to that. So the new Rotovelo is, its shell is around about 4 kilo, 5 kilo lighter due to advanced rotomolding technologies that we've developed here in Australia. And with that 5 kilo, we're spending it on features, predominantly suspension and also what would you call it, a above seat steering arrangement, or a steering pillow, if you like, with full size handlebars. So these were probably the two strongest pieces of feedback we've had over the years from the Rotovelo 1.
All right, great. So tell us where you are in the process, because I know you've been working on this for a bit. So how is it going? What do you anticipate in terms of when you might get into production and sales and such?
Yeah, look, as we've said in previous conversations, this has been a real journey, and I wish we were further along with it than we have been, but we're starting to get to the exciting part now. We have done several prototypes, and I'm currently testing what we would call a production prototype, and that is built to the same specification as what we're going to produce for our forward order customers. I'm currently testing, hoping to put about 1,000 kilometres on it over the next couple of weeks. I'm about a third of the way through that process. And so far, so good. Really enjoying riding it. The weather's starting to close in here in Australia at the moment, so we're starting to get some cooler weather, which is great to test the Rotovelo. And I am hoping we can release I guess, some specifications and pricing in the next couple of weeks for that close.
Excellent. All right, let's talk about when this comes along and you're talking about distribution. How do you anticipate that's going to go? Are you working with dealers, or do you anticipate working with dealers around the world for the next Rotovelo? How do you see that going?
Yeah, look, the climate has changed a lot in dealership of Velomobiles over the last couple of years. We've noticed compared to what it was 10 years ago when we released Rotovelo. And so we're looking for a fresh start here, and we're looking to partner up with some dealers that are actually familiar with Velomobiles a little more now, and obviously give people an experience. Rotovelo is probably one of those vehicles that just takes you when you actually ride it, as a lot of tri-sled designs are. They're really riders machines. And so we're looking to make deals, Gary. We're looking to see if we can find some people that are actually wanting to work with it.
Okay, well, here's what comes to mind. I know that you have developed a relationship now with TerraTrike Greenspeed, and you are actually selling both Greenspeed and TerraTrike there, if I'm not mistaken. You can tell me about that. Have you had any chats with those boys?
Yeah, we have. And actually, my recent conversations with Marshall said he was going to order 4 container loads of Rotovelo 2 later this year. So feel free to get Marshall from With Wheels on and actually talk about where he's going to be putting those 4 container loads and who's going to get them first.
I can't wait to get like a video of Marshall in a Rotovelo. That he'll go crazy with that. I think it's awesome. So good. Well, I didn't know about that, but I thought that would make some really good things.
Yeah, look, we've had some really good conversations about it. The picking up where Ian left off here in Australia with Greenspeed has been a rocky road, and we're finally starting to get the show or the train on the track, the show on the road here with both With Wheels and Greenspeed. And the partnership is deepening, and we really would love to see maybe that as a pathway to getting Rotovelo into the US for you guys. However, in the meantime, we have a couple of slots left in our forward order scheme, which are people who basically put their deposit down Tesla style, and we'll get the first production run. And in the interims after that, we'll obviously offer direct sales until we make firm arrangements with any part of the world which doesn't have a dealer, basically. So, yeah.
Okay, so for those people who wouldn't have quick access to a dealer or may have questions, just send an email to TriSled in the meantime?
Yeah, absolutely. There's also a link in our online store to the forward order scheme, so you can go in there and just put it's only a $450 Australian deposit. It's more just a pledge of allegiance, if you like, to the idea, and it's refundable, but also just gives us an idea of how serious you are about coming on board with us. And we basically you get the first updates basically. So whenever we have things to announce and things, our forward order customers find out about it first, and then several days later we obviously put it into our social screens. So yeah, it's we're expecting a little more content, I would say, in the coming weeks on that. We've really had to sort of put the camera down recently and just focus on trying to get through the work here. And try to get this prototype to the point where we're happy with it, which we are now, and just try to sharpen our pencils and work out specifications and things for people. So, yeah.
Okay, great. All right, well, I guess the last thing I want to ask you about is what else may be on the drawing board that you feel comfortable talking about at this point. Is there anything else that you guys working at TriSled on that we might need to know about?
Yeah, there's a video in my YouTube channel called Full Suspension Trike, which has had a fairly significant hit rate, so obviously it must be what people are interested in. The prototype's become my personal ride, and I'm having quite a lot of fun with it. It's a big travel suspension trike, about 120 millimeters. We've got a lot of, I guess, back block kind of rail trails here in Gippsland in Victoria, Australia, and some of these trails are borderline mountain bike trails, but not quite. And so we designed a recumbent essentially, which I guess is the intersection of my two worlds between recumbents and Velomobiles, and I also love my mountain biking. And so this trike's been a lot of fun, and we built two, one for a custom order customer and one obviously for the shop, which I'm currently riding. The plan is to roll the suspension trike out into something production probably late this year. We need to get the Rotovelo work done first to sort of set ourselves that trajectory that we'll get the Rotovelos on the road and get the production happening there, and then we'll pick up where we left off with the full suspension trike. But the racing scene has started off in Australia again as an event this weekend, which my sales crew are attending.
Pedal Pre. This is Pedal Pre, yes?
Pedal Pre, yep, I beg your pardon. So early days there, everybody's having a very sort of easing in approach. All the racing teams I've spoken to, so I expect it'll be largely social to begin with. There are a couple of older teams that are returning and a couple of new teams which probably are going to use this as an opportunity to prove themselves. So that's to put out a bit of spice. But maybe check out all the normal kind of Pedal Pre streams and see if there's any content in the next couple of months there. So, yeah.
That sounds great. Well, then clearly there's a lot going on at Tri-Sled down in Australia there. It is always a treat for me to talk with you. I really appreciate your input on what's going on down there. So we hope to talk to you again real soon and catch up. But Penn Goodall, thank you so much for being on the Laid Back Bike Report again.
Really appreciate your interest, Gary. Thanks, mate.
You bet. All right, there was Ben Goodall, who's probably snoozing away since it's the middle of the night in Australia right now. Any thoughts, Joseph, on the Rotovelo?
I like it very much. You know, I've seen that video where a bunch of Rotovelo riders play with their Velomobiles out in an ice skating rink. That's pretty amazing. I think it's a very interesting concept. It wasn't too attractive for me because it is a super stiff ride and pretty bumpy. But I think when I see this and when I see that they're innovating, I can just say, what a great time to be alive as a Velonaut. When you have so many new things entering the market, so many different Velomobiles now becoming available, and I think apart from the Rotovelo, there he does some other Velomobile designs like the Overzealous and others, the Aquila, that are impressively fast and aerodynamic Velomobiles. So I'm amazed of what they are putting out there in Australia.
Absolutely. The whole Pedal Pre scene there is something that we've talked about many times. And he's a big part of that. Doug, any thoughts before we move on here?
No, I mean, it's like Joseph said, the video of the ice hockey, I wish they'd make that a sport because that'd be my thing in a hurry. But, I'm looking forward to, you know what I'm saying? You'd be doing that too, right with me, right, Joseph? But
when that becomes an Olympic sport, we can promise you
I'm
back.
right there. I'm right there.
All right, guys.
I'm absolutely in for that.
Let's move along here. The next segment, guys, is with Stephane Boving, the founder of Katanga, who make, of course, the WAW Velomobile and a number of other things. And Stephane is a great guy, always willing to share the latest of what's going on there. And he's going to show us a little tour of Katanga quickly, and then we're going to have a little interview, and we'll find out what's going on, the latest in the Czech Republic with Katanga. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Stephane. I show you around in our premises of Katanga. Here are our offices. We work here with 4 people. I go down to the showroom. Here we have some Pony 4s. Then the WAW, or Velomobile, waiting to be delivered to a customer in Germany. Here we see 2 prototypes on which we test drivetrains for the VM45. This is drivetrain chainless with a pedal generator, engines in rear wheel hubs and all-wheel steering, so also the rear wheels steer. The other one is more classical chain transmission with 2 engines in the rear hubs. Very powerful. Pony 4 with 2 kit seats. Here we are in the warehouse where we stock parts before production and also the finished bicycles before shipping. this high tower are Velomobiles waiting for a container to be shipped to the United States. Here we see boxes with the Armadillo, the four-wheel cargo bike of Velos that we assemble here. Also waiting to be shipping. Then big shelves with all parts for the Armadillo. Our assembly room. Today we use right part for four-wheel bikes, empty now, and left part for the WAW Velomobile. In these shelves we stock all parts for the Pony 4 and for the WAW. We try to keep a big stock, 1 to 2 years if possible. And we made the whole turn. We are back in the office now.
How are you, Stephane?
I'm fine. Hello, everybody.
It is so good to see you again. And I was hoping we could catch up a little and find out what the latest at Katanga is. So, Stephane, tell me, what is new at Katanga? What's new with the WAW specifically?
Yeah, there's a lot of new things happening, but the WAW is a product that is mature. And we do not want to change everything on the WAW. So there are on the WAW just some small changes, fine-tuning. For instance, the roll-off grip shifter we put now on the left side to have shorter cabling to the shifter. We also start to test some slide bearings in the rear suspension. But the WAW, as I told, is a mature product. Last year it won the Sun Trip. Which is really a proof of solidity, robustness. So for the WAW, we more work to be able to satisfy our orders well. So and today this means ordering parts, having then big stock, so that we don't miss parts and that we can really supply in time. So delivery times are still 2 months by us. So that's for the WAW.
Okay. And maybe we can just chat for a minute to go into the Sun Trip a little bit. We've talked a little bit on the show about it. Tell me about who rode that WAW and how did it do? What was the configuration of that WAW?
Yeah, it was. It started with a standard WAW that Jean-Marc Duboulot bought with our French dealer. And he had then a French company installed the engine part. And probably also the integration with the solar panel. But Jean-Marc is also himself a guy who likes he's very technical and he has sailing boats, for instance, and he also started to himself to fine-tune his WAW. He had the occasion to ride a lot before the test and put some improvements in it. I was myself also at the start of the Sun Trip. I drove it with the Pony 4 with a solar panel, and my dog and my wife had a similar bike with her dog. We went to Brussels and back, so it's also a trip of 2,500 kilometers that we did. So we had the occasion to see this wonderful group of people.
Tell me a little about what's going on with the Pony 4. Tell us what it is for the folks that don't know and what your plans are.
The Pony 4, you can find it on a separate website. It's not a faired bicycle, so it's open and it has 4 wheels. And you sit also like on a recumbent bike, maybe a little more straight sitting position. But in fact, it's a very stable bike, which allows then also to take some cargo with you. So my motivation to develop this bike was that I had this big dog and it didn't fit in a Velomobile. And I wanted to use a bike to go to work at least and maybe to travel. So we decided to build it up with some friended companies in Germany.
You used to do some direct to customers, and then I know that you've worked over the last number of years to expand your dealer network, even to here in the U.S. Tell us if you would, about your distribution there in Europe and elsewhere around the world, including the US. What's that like these days?
Yeah, so you are probably all aware that in COVID times and now with the problems in Ukraine and Russia, it's very difficult to get parts. So this has been a very difficult question to solve. It has also much work. Prices have also gone up. So the distribution, the sales was also a little strange in COVID periods. Now with the high fuel prices, we see in fact that the sales are picking up a lot. And we continue to sell like before, so we try to have dealers, distributors, and main selling countries. But for instance, in COVID period, it was very expensive to ship bikes, even with sea container to the States. So with Bicycle Evolution in Texas, it has taken several months before the prices of shipping went down to some acceptable level. So there has been some problems there. But in Europe, it's we continue to sell using our distribution channels. Channels means that there are dealers, distributors who are active and they continue to sell whatever happened in the last years. France, Belgium, Germany. We have a very good dealer who started last year in Sweden.
That would be Alva, our friend Alva Henriksen. Yes, yes, of course. What are you working on for the future in terms of the WAW, or in terms of any other new products, or maybe facilities, production, and such? What are you working on now?
Yeah, so I can mention two big things. First, in our product range, we are developing now a new product, which we call, for the moment, VM45. VM stands for Velomobile, and 45 kilometer per hour, which stands for electric assist till 45 kilometer per hour. Yeah. This is, as you know, in Europe, bicycle stays legally bicycle as long as the electric assist doesn't help above speeds of 25 kilometer per hour. And if the engine has a nominal output of 250 watts maximum. Yeah. If you go above this, then you fall in another legal category. And we are working to make this Velomobile in this new category. We will have to homologate it, which is a lot of work, a lot of rules to learn to follow, and which has to be controlled later. And it will be a fair bike, dus a Velomobile. We use all the technology that we know, that we have experience with. So it will be a self-supporting bodywork. And it will be with 4 wheels for stability reasons. It will be more comfortable, a little more luggage capacity than the WAW. And it's meant to have electric assist, yeah. But we will do all we can to have the consumption of electricity very low, so that with just a bicycle battery, or maybe a little bigger capacity bicycle battery, that you have a radius of 300, maybe 400 kilometers. Yeah, that's our goal. So this is a project in which we are very much motivated, and we feel around us that there's a lot of demand for such a product.
Yeah, a car replacement almost type of category. Yes,
yeah, indeed, it will be a more practical than a Velomobile for people who are not that sporty, or who have to take more luggage and so on. There's a second item, and we are the place is getting small here, so I've invested in some new place, and we are building a new assembly hall this year, and next year we should move part of the production there, so to help us in our growth.
And that will be close to where you are now, or?
No, it will be some 120 kilometers, 75 miles from here. It's outside the city because I will also move there with my wife and live there. And we will go with the VM45 once per week here to follow up the work here. So it's outside of the city, quite far away, close to the Austrian border.
Wow. Very interesting. Lots of new stuff. Like you said, I'm excited to hear all that for you. So, okay. All right. Well, Stephane, thank you so much for sharing that exciting news and the update from Katanga there in Czech Republic. Great to see you, like I said, and we hope to stay in touch and talk to you again soon. Thanks, Stephane.
Thank you too, Gary. Bye.
Bye-bye. There you have it, the update from Katanga. So quick answer to John Yang, who asked what velo is he describing. So if you miss it, the VM45 is what Stephane calls it. It is a motorized velomobile, almost car replacement type thing. It is still in the prototype stage, so you're not going to see it out there for a little bit yet, but that's what that was about. And okay, so yeah, Joseph, thoughts on what you just saw there?
Well, you've heard it. There's a new segment developing, and that segment is, in one of the earlier shows we had the free car, pod bike, as it was formerly called. I think that is now coming. There is next to the performance velomobiles, which go in or are on a track to improve performance while still be rideable in everyday life, to get mostly e-assisted velomobile type machines for those who are not really into biking, but they want car replacement. They want to do something different. And I think that is something that will develop and will produce a range of different models, and we'll see what the market is at the end. That I don't know. I think to some of the more hardcore velomobile riders like myself, it is probably not very appealing. But to people who don't come from cycling, it may be an entirely different story.
All right, Doug?
Yeah, I made the joke the other day. I said, well, the VM45's the Velomobile made for Americans because it doesn't have pedals. It's got a throttle. Joseph was laughing at that. But, I mean, it's true. I mean, there's a lot of emerging technology, emerging vehicles in this light electric vehicle space. I mean, everybody's got a PowerPoint right now about these things. I mean, Gary, you and I joke about it, about how many of these things we see every week. We see new ones. But these guys know what they're doing. They've got a history. This thing will exist. It won't just be a PowerPoint.
Right. And I just have to add, in my mind, the addressable market for such a vehicle, if it turns out to be something people actually want, could be much, much larger than any sort of velomobile or bicycle market if it comes through. So they know what they're after.
That's it. So the velomobile market is the niche of the niche of the niche of the niche. I mean, it doesn't get any smaller. We all do this because we love it, not because there's a market here. But that said, gas being what it is, oil being where it is, everything in the geopolitical climate being where it is, there's interest in venture capital. There's interest in other people in these light electric vehicles. The regulatory environment in Europe and the US is completely unequipped to handle this right now. And so there's a whole lot of evolution we've got to do to make it happen, but there's a whole lot of pressure to make the evolution happen. So I think, my opinion is it's going to be slower than we want, but faster than it needs to be. So it's going to, these are going to exist. They're going to be out there. I'm sure going to be a part of this because I know that, I can't tell you how many times people ask, how fast can a velomobile go? What kind of motor's in it? And I go, well, it goes as fast as you can pedal it, and the motor's run by tacos. But this is not what they want to hear. They want to hear, I can jump in it, push a button, and get to my work for less money than I'm spending.
Yeah, and that's, I think, where we're headed. And you're right what you say about our love of velomobiles, those of us who do. Clearly, we love velomobiles here at the Laid Back Bike Report, or we wouldn't be doing a 3-hour live webcast that we're doing right now. So let's move along, fellas, to really our last segment. It's kind of a summing up and an important factor here. So we've seen all these Velomobiles out there today and all these various places and segments that we've looked at. How do you go about choosing one, right? I mean, that's a big question. And Doug is going to give us the answer right now.
Okay. Hey, we have talked a lot about Velomobiles today. And, well, I'm in the business of helping people find Velomobiles. And I want to talk about how to choose one. What Velomobile is best for me? And what I always respond with is, well, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to use it for? Are you going to go fast? Are you going to tour? Are you going to replace a car? Get out of the weather? Those are the kind of things people talk to me all the time about wanting to do Velomobiles. And all Velomobiles will do that. They'll all go fast. They'll all be tourable. They'll all replace a car if you want to. And they all have some level, if not total, weather protection. So I kind of developed a little scale. When you look at this scale, I kind of as a 1 to 10, 1 being not so good, 10 being as good. There's only 1 10 on every one of these pages that I'm going to talk about. And there's usually no ones, but there are some lower numbers, and I'll kind of go in and describe them and why, in my particular opinion, I picked them. So let's start out with the carrying capacity. And then the carrying capacity, we started with the different Velomobiles. We have a Quest, a Strata, and a Mango. These are all fairly similar in the same age group. These were all kind of built, some of the first versions of Velomobiles. They all carry stuff. I carried a lot of stuff in my Mango for a while. I've carried stuff in the Quest, but they really don't have the cargo capacity in their designs that the today's do. So the DF, the DFXL, the WAW, and of course the Quadravelo, which I've ranked number 10 here, it's really the best. It has, in fact, we'll talk about it in a second. There's some really, what I would say, over the top testing that's been done on the Quadravelo. Milans are there. The Alpha 7 is lower, mainly because, at least in my Alpha 7, the exchange line's kind of exposed. The back swing arm is exposed. Not a lot of carrying capacity, but it's not really made to. Those are more speed machines. The Mulsanne is really difficult to carry stuff in. And the Snoek that I tested, it's small, tight. And when you have somebody my size in it, there's not much room for the luggage in there. And then, of course, for the M9 and the W9, we don't know that much about yet. Stability, going through corners, going through turns, going through things. And so a lot of times you get to, on your Velomobile, you're going to go fast. You're going to corner hard. Some of in fact, all but one, the Quadravelo are 3-wheeled machines. So a Quest, they're pretty tippy. I've picked them up on 2 wheels multiple times. People have rolled them. Same thing with Strata and the Mango. The center of gravity is a little lower. The DF and DFXL, kind of honestly, I picked my DF up going through corners hard a lot, but the thing is so stable I can handle it through the corners. I wouldn't recommend you doing this your first day, but as you get used to it, you can do that. WAWs have a really low center of gravity, again, like the Mangos did, and the Stratas. So those are harder to tip over. They've also got a little bit more camber. The wheels are out a little bit more like this, and they're a little bit harder. The flip side of that is, and no pun intended, that when you do get them up on 2 wheels, you don't have much room before they do tip over. Quadravelo, again, comes in with a 10 because it's got 4 wheels, and it tends to skid through corners rather than tip. The Milan SL, the GT, the Alpha, and these are also very low to the ground, and so they have a very low center of gravity, so they're very difficult to tip. I've had my Milan up once on 2 wheels, and it was completely and totally by accident, and it surprised the heck out of me, but I managed to pull it back down and not roll it. My opinion is that's one you don't really want to try that stunt home. The Alpha 7 is a little bit wider track than the DF, even though they're have a little shared heritage there, and a lot of people think it's more stable. The Alpha 9, similar track, similar stability. The Mulsanne is a very high center of gravity. I had one of these, and I tell you what, I picked it up in the parking lot on 2 wheels a couple of times. So higher center of gravity, less weight in the bottom, bike's a little bit less stable. And the Snoek, now, admittedly, I've only been ridden the Snoek a little bit, but my opinion is it wasn't very tippy. I kind of put it somewhere between the DF and the Alpha, maybe a little less. When I get mine in and I can push it real hard, I'll have a be able to maybe revise that. But right now, I'd put it above average of all the Velomobiles, and pretty stable from what I can tell so far. Maintainability, that's really a question gets asked an awful lot. People always say, how hard is my Velomobile to maintain? Can a bike shop maintain it? There's a couple of ways of looking at it, and I tried to look at it in both ways. One is how many bicycle parts are in it. And that's kind of a running pun, but they're all bicycles, but some of them use very standard bicycle parts that you're going to have at a bike shop. Some of them have some amount of customization, some of them have a lot of customization, and some of them are just hard to get into. So we start out here at Quest. I ranked it fairly low because it's kind of hard to get into. It's kind of hard to work on. It has some non-standard parts in it. Same thing with Stratas. They're a little bit easier. The Mango is a little bit less easy than the Strata was because it's got that dual chain drivetrain. Easy for me to say. I think the DF and the DFXLs are very easy to work on. But number 1 or number 10, the highest ranked one here is the WAW. The WAW uses very standard bicycle parts. Every bike shop in the world can work on it. Once you take the nose and the tail off of it, you bring it into the shop and you say, look, guys, it's just a recumbent bike. And after you pick the bike mechanic up off the floor, pat him on the shoulder, dust him off because he's freaked out because of what you brought in the door, he can actually work on the thing. Quattrovelos, I go back and forth on this one. I ranked it a little low. The Quatrovelo basic maintenance is very easy. Everything's accessible. Everything's very easy to work on. You can get to the drivetrain by and large. There's been some modifications to the shell that Velomobile.nl has put out that helps you get access to things. But I've worked on a lot of these, and every one of them that comes to my shop, has some major issue, and I've got to take things apart, and they take a long time. And so I ranked it low, not necessarily because of the normal maintenance, but because of when you have to do major surgery on it. Something's really broken, the derailleur's tangled up inside the thing, or something like that. It takes you a while to deal with it. Same thing happened when we looked at the Milan, the SL, and the GT. Basic maintenance, no problem. But when you have to do things, there's a lot of stuff you got to do. There's pictures of myself. There's pictures of my shop guys and other people with their tails sticking out at the top of the Milan because that's the only way you can get in and do some work in the front. Alpha 7s, the cover comes off quick, no problem, but getting the things became difficult. And there's some bunch of non-standard parts in here, stuff that's not on any other Velomobile out there. So that's where things got a little difficult, and I ranked it down. Same thing with the Mulsanne. Mulsanne isn't that hard to work on. The problem I had with the Mulsanne was when I had to get to the rear mech, you had to flip the bike over. The work we did with the Snoek basically works like all the other Velomobile products, pretty easy to get access to stuff, and not very difficult to maintain things that were going on in it. The manhole ability. This is the one people talk about all the time. They're talking about to me all the time. How hard is it to get in? And that's interesting because, the Velomobiles that have larger manholes, and that's the part where the body goes in, sometimes aren't the easiest to get in. So let's start over here. You look at the Quest and the Strata and the Mango. These are kind of all basically the same body because they were built all around the same time. The DF and the DFXL got to be a little bit more work to get in and out of them. The WAW has a bigger manhole. The big thing flips up, but it's a lower center of gravity, so you got a bigger step to get into. Quatrovelo is kind of the same way. It's really easy to open up the top, stand on the seat, and get into the thing, but then you got to scrunch down and you got to work your way through. But you work your way down, and then when you get out, you got to wrestle your way back out. Not the easiest thing to get it out of. All of these bikes up here, by and large, you work out your biceps as much as your quads. So you're getting in and out of the things. The Milan SL and GT have giant manholes. They're real big step to get in them, but not as much manhole to try to work yourself around. But the lip where they connect at the top is more narrow. So you got to kind of, at least somebody who's my size, you got to kind of do the little jig with your tail and work it back and forth and get yourself inside the thing and before you can close the thing. Not a big deal, but kind of ranks it down a little bit. Alpha 7 and Alpha 9 works very similar to each other. Same thing as the DF. A little bit bigger manhole than a DF, so I gave them a little bit higher ranking. But by and large, you're still going a fairly small circle to get yourself into. The Mulsanne is interesting. A lot of people ask me about that one because, it's got we jokingly call it's got a pop top. You lift the thing up and you can, well, yes and no. So yeah, you can lift the thing up and it's pretty easy to see the seat and all that stuff, but it's got this big center ridge line where everything is that you got to step over. And then the Snoek, I'm a pretty big guy. I'm 200 and some odd pounds and I'm 6 foot, and my quads and my are huge. And I managed to get in a Snoek, but let me tell you, it was kind of the watermelon and the pea for a few seconds to figure out how to get in there. But in my opinion, that was one of the harder ones to get in and out of. Speed. Everybody wants to know, how fast is it? Everybody wants to know about speed because that's what velomobiles are known for. So let's talk about flatland speed. I kind of ranked them in this order. The Quest and the Quest is pretty fast for as old as it is out there as a design. It's still pretty quick. I can move one down the road pretty fast. The Strata and the Mango were never really meant to be speed machines, and they're not. They're not that fast comparatively. The DF and the DF XL, those are fast. I still ride the DF more than anything else out there, and it's still fast. The walls are not shabby if they're configured right. They're pretty quick too. Quattrovelos kind of fall into that same category, a little faster than the Quest in my opinion, but they're a big bike with a lot of capacity and it's not as aerodynamic. But there is no doubt in anybody's mind, certainly not mine, that Milan SL is the fastest bike on flatland speed that we know of today. Fastest velomobile. They're quick. Multiple people have done sub 3-hour centuries on them. If I could ever find a long flat piece of road, I'm pretty sure I could knock one out. The GT is not much slower than that. So it's just a little wider, a little bit more frontal area, a little wider. Alpha 7, Alpha 9 are pretty fast too. I've been going back and forth whether the DF or the Alpha 7 are faster. That's a constant debate. I've kind of decided the DF is faster. The Mulsanne, I would not consider that a speed machine. It's a huge frontal area, probably 20 to 30% larger than any of the other velomobiles out there. What I can tell so far from the time I've had on the Snoek, they're very fast. Is it going to be faster than the Milan? My testing so far says it's not, but that's testing of a couple of rides. I have not put this kind of time in a Snoek that I have in a Milan. The difference between the lowest one here, which is the Strata, and the highest one here, which is the Milan SL, is not that much. Maybe a few miles per hour at 200 watts. Almost all of this depends on you and your fitness level and how many miles you ride to maintain that fitness level. And probably the last thing I would say is I put 200-300 miles a week in pretty religiously to maintain my fitness level. It's simple math now. It's how much you put in is how much you get out. And that's all I got to tell you about how to choose a velomobile.
It's just a fantastic summary of what we've been talking about, Doug. I appreciate that. I want to give Joseph a chance to give his reaction to what you did. Where maybe did you disagree with Doug on any of that, Joseph?
I don't really. I think that's a very fair, that's a very balanced, and I think a very experienced ranking that Doug has put up there. I think what's very important is what he said towards the end. All velomobiles are more efficient and will be faster than any other human-powered bicycle. But from the good velomobiles, the strong riders will benefit significantly more than weak riders. So, if you really want to be fast in a velomobile, you better do the kind of miles that Doug was speaking about. And my own personal experience is do a lot of climbing. That's the disadvantage when you live in countries like the Netherlands or maybe parts of Texas, is where the next mountains are pretty far away. Actually, what really builds your leg strength, which you will benefit from in a velomobile, is do some climbs. And I know that Doug has traveled all of the U.S. and he likes to go into the mountains of Arizona and New Mexico just to get that extra punch that you need. So that's what I would add to his
Very
assessment.
good. Very good, Joseph. All right, let's finish up with a couple of questions overall, maybe that we have missed. Doug, I'm going to ask you, we got via Facebook, I got a message from Daryl Jordan, who I think I saw in the live chat anyways, and he's asking about home-build Velomobile kits. Do they exist? Doug?
Yeah, there's been a couple of them around. There's been some very good chloroplast versions. The Aero Bullet is still around. I'm trying to remember. There's one more that somebody emailed me about the other day. There's 2 or 3 of them. You can Google these things, and there are people selling kits for trikes. I would tell you right off the bat, there isn't a home-built kit or a kit you can buy or anything you can slap on a trike that's going to get anywhere close to the speeds that we can get out of one of these modern Velomobiles. There's just no comparison. Typically, they're not as aero, and typically they're not as sealed up in there and have a little bit of aero drag on them, which causes you to lose a lot of power as you go down the road.
Right. All right. And then, the one thing we really haven't touched on in all of these discussions, User to Go has asked, what about the cost of Velos? Now, we're not going to spend another half an hour talking about all the different pricing, but maybe from each of you to finish up here, we'll go to you, Joseph, first. Tell us in general about pricing of Velomobiles and what's the best way to get into it. And if you're an experienced Velomobile rider, what would you choose and what would you expect to pay?
Well, this is one of the questions that you get asked a lot. What does it cost? And a lot of people then compare it to used cars, which I think is a totally unfair comparison. Who wants a used car if you could have a Velomobile? I always say a good Velomobile is like a very good road bike. That's about the price range that you're talking about. And that's what you need to be ready to spend in order to get that very unique experience. If somebody asks me, how do I get into that? Buying a new Velomobile, and I don't know what it is a bit too steep for me price-wise. What's your recommendation? And I say, go for the used Velomobile market and select one of those models that have been produced in higher quantity. So I very often recommend to people, try and buy a used Quest. Well, nowadays you can almost say, try to find a used DF or DF XL, depending on your size. Because there you have a lower entry. You can get used machines in decent quality for around 4,000 to 6,000 euros. And if you don't like it, if you don't happen to like it, you could probably sell them without much of a loss, if a loss at all. Now, that, I think, in my view, is the best way to get into that, because, with Velomobiles is what Donald Rumsfeld said about the unknown unknowns. This is something, there's an experience waiting for new Velomobile riders that you don't know what you don't know about it, because it is so different, it is so unique, and it is such a different world beyond cycling, the cycling that that probably spending that amount of money on a used and fairly decent used Velomobile is the best way to enter into that experience.
I love that, Joseph. Thank you very much. And Doug, how about for North American Velomobile seekers? So what do you have to say about pricing for them?
I would say the exact same thing Joseph just said. There is a used market is out there. They're a little bit like airplanes right now. They're going up in price, not down, because the cost of building one goes up, and the cost of shipping is still crazy out there, and the shipping is still sketchy. So all of that combined is there. And the one thing that I find a lot of times people will buy it, they'll get analysis paralysis with Velomobiles because there's so many choices. They all fit within a narrow window of each other, but people they're going to spend $10,000. They're going to, I just want to make the right decision. So they end up not. They could spend $6,000, get a nice used one, learn a whole lot, and then make a better choice, sell their $6,000, or like most people do, they end up keeping their used one and getting a second one because of the N+1 rule that's pervasive in bicycles. So absolutely, I would say if you're looking to buy one and you don't know for sure what you want, then any used one is better than not getting one. And you will learn more in the first 6 months of owning that bike than any YouTube video, any web conversations, any forums, any Facebook postings.
Very good. Well, I think we're going to leave it there, folks. Before we go any further, I want to really extend my deepest thanks to both Doug and Joseph. You guys worked so hard with me on this show this month. So my many thanks to both of you for being with me on all this. All right, so let's finish up here with a note about viewer submissions. We often do those, and if you guys have some pictures of an accomplishment or an event that you've attended, feel free to reach out to us at laidbackbikereport@gmail.com, and we'll see if we can share those with our audience. Now, who sponsors the Laid Back Bike Report? Let's talk about that right now. First of all, it is TerraCycle. From fairings to headrests, whatever accessory you need, Pat and crew have you covered. And Trailside Trikes. If you find yourself in Florida, near the Withlacoochee Trail, or in Knoxville, Tennessee, check out Andrew's shop and amazing crew. And TerraTrike and Greenspeed Trikes. Your vision, whatever it is, TerraTrike has a trike to take you there. And Greenspeed cutting-edge designs create performance through Aussie ingenuity. And Laid Back Cycles, the top USA dealer for TerraTrike and the premier source for Catrike, Ice, and Greenspeed. We give you the freedom to ride. And Connecticut Yankee Peddler. We feature multiple brands of trikes, including electric assist models, test rides, and Southern Iowa hospitality are always available at our mega store in Chariton. And Avenue Trikes, with the gearing you need and the comfort you want in stock and ready to ship so you can enjoy riding again. Dealer inquiries are welcome. And Azub, in addition to the titanium suspension, another technological gem brought to you by Azub is an optional folding mechanism. It is not only easy to operate, but works great and looks fantastic. And Recumbent PDX, Cat Trike's West Coast Megastore. Schedule your test ride on trikes with pedal assist electric from both Bosch and Bafang, roll-off and schlump component groups, and adaptive builds. Experience the joy of Cat Trike. All right, guys, we are going to let you know that our show next month will be actually the 1st of May, and we hope you will join us then at 2 o'clock Eastern time. Once again, we'll announce what's going to be on that show shortly. You'll find it on Facebook or the website, so take a look there when you can. Now, please support the Laid Back Bike Report. If you like what you saw today, we would love to have you like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, which, by the way, we are like 50 or 60 subscribers short of 10,000 subscribers, folks. So if we can pick up a few more, we would really love that and hit that milestone. We'll let you know when that happens. And also, that little white eye up in the upper left-hand corner there. Feel free to click that and go to the laidbackbikereport.com. It will, there you'll be able to find lots of our previous shows, what's coming up. You can, buy a hat. You can also join our Patreons for as little as $1 a month. You can support us on patreon.com. So we would appreciate that as well. And you can see all these guys here, including our latest Patreon right there. It's Mike Lecka. He just supported us just a couple of days ago. So, Mike, we appreciate that, pal. All right. So I think that's it. Let's bring our panelists up on. There we go. There's who's left here. And thanks, guys, again, Joseph and Doug. I don't know how much more to thank you guys for what you did. And Larry, that was a ton of switching to those videos. We did a great job. I appreciate it. And Larry Varney, good to see you always. And you even appeared in that little Velomobile thing we did at Spetzi a few years ago.
I saw that.
with me in the back seat, no doubt. And Trey, thanks, pal, for all the media work that you did. So, guys, let's wrap it up. So I thank all my crew members. Most of all, thanks to all of you for watching this month. So from all of us here at the Laid Back Bike Report, so long, bent riders.